starting right now, I'm going to start off really quick with what's really important tomorrow. Tomorrow is a huge day. Tomorrow is the 5th anniversary. Let's check it out. Are you ready? I don't know if you guys can hear this. Tomorrow is the 5th anniversary of the Falcon 9's first landing at Canaveral. It's the first time that humanity has launched an orbital rocket booster. This was absolutely spectacular. This team is one of the greatest movements in history. Absolutely. How do you want the Falcon landed? Just to one of the things that we're going to talk about in this video is the TSLAQ theory, the FUD, the story that there's something wrong with Tesla. And that moment, December 21, 2015, was an absolutely spectacular moment. Oh, you guys could hear it and it was too loud? Oh, okay. Okay, you guys couldn't hear me because the video was going. Okay, so December 21, 2015 was an absolutely spectacular moment in human history. SpaceX launched the Orbcomm 2 mission, a Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 booster achieved its mission. It got the second stage into orbit. They deployed 11 Orbcomm satellites. The Falcon 9 booster did a boost back burn, an entry burn, and a landing burn, and successfully stuck the landing. For the first time in human history, humanity, SpaceX, launched an orbital rocket booster, brought it back, and stuck the landing. This enabled reusability. And now we've seen SpaceX has landed multiple, I think it's 70 times now, SpaceX has landed orbital rocket boosters. 2 of the boosters have done 7 missions. 1 of them has done 5. I'm not sure what the other ones are. This is really important for cost saving. If you can reuse your boosters and you have a $50 million booster and you can reuse it, and you spread the cost of that $50 million booster over 10 missions, instead of it costing $50 million for the booster on the mission, it costs $5 million. And they're reusing fairings, and that saves money. And all of this makes things less and less expensive, and it's leading to Starship, where they're going to reuse more. And the cost of getting a kilogram to orbit goes from $10,000 before Falcon 9 to $2,000 with Falcon 9 to $1,000 with reusability on Falcon 9. And we're going to see it drop to like $10 a kilogram as the Starship program matures. It's going to be stunning. It's going to be amazing. It enables so many things for humanity to achieve things in space. And this matters for what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today, let's see what we got for comments here. What I'm going to talk about today is there's this guy. Let me see what I got here. This guy, Christopher Bloomstran. Christopher Bloomstran is on Twitter, and he went on a rant yesterday, a 58-tweet rant, ripping Tesla, and it's one of the dumber, I mean, they're all dumb. It's one of the dumber TSLAQ type rants. This guy is an investment advisor. Let's see who he is. Christopher Bloomstran. And I tagged him on Twitter that I was going to do this today. President and Chief Investment Officer of Semper Augustus Investments Group, LLC. Well, that sounds important. Semper Augustus. More than 20 years of investment experience with a value-driven approach to fundamental equity. Value investors aren't growth investors, and if you read through their website, they're not growth people. And it's okay to say I'm an value investor, but to attack growth stocks without thinking, which is what happens here, I'm going to go through this is just dumb. A little bit more about him. Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, emphasis in finance, chartered financial analyst. You know, he's a guy in the community. He's an investor, okay, but he's a value investor. And I think he just doesn't get it. So we're going to go with, this is the first tweet. Thank you, Evangelist. In my dreams, Elon is going to invite me or ask me to come work for Tesla or SpaceX or honestly anything Elon does. So he starts off his tweet with this, let's get ready to tumble. I think he meant rumble. Oh, tumble, I think he means the stock's going to fall. And he's referring to S&P 500 inclusion. And he's criticizing the Standard & Poor's for taking Tesla in at this time. And I'm not sure, when people say, well, this is the wrong time to take Tesla in, should they have taken him in a quarter earlier? when, should they have waited till the Tesla's even bigger? What's your theory here? But he's basically calling Tesla a bubble. And what you're going to see in his analysis or lack of analysis is he doesn't understand the company at all. I see this with a lot of the critics, a lot of the people who attack Tesla, is they don't know anything about the company. Did he watch the Autonomy Day video? I've watched the Autonomy Day video like 5-10 times. That's the 2019 conference. Did he watch Battery Day? He doesn't mention batteries at all in this 58 tweet rant. How do you cover Tesla and not talk about batteries? There's so much that he missed here. It blows my mind. But we're going to get into it. He says, for all the cost-saving benefits of passive investing, S&P's committee that actively chooses indices will prove why passive investors are the dumb money. Now, one of the things that goes on in the investment community that a lot of people aren't aware of is there's basically two kinds of investing. I oversimplify everything. One kind of investing is active investing, and you might go to a mutual fund with an active manager who is picking stocks. The S&P 500 index, there's all these funds that are based on the S&P 500 index. There's no active picking. The S&P 500 says this is the index of stocks, and the fund buys those stocks, and they just try to track the index by buying the same weights that the index has. So he's criticizing the committee. It's not known for price consciousness. It chases what's hot and eliminates from its August roster what's not. Well, it picks roughly the 500 biggest companies. I don't see what's remarkable out here. And it says it's disregard for fundamentals or value. Disregard for fundamentals. This guy does not talk about Tesla's fundamentals at all in the entire 58 tweet rant. He knows nothing about the fundamentals of Tesla. But it's true, the S&P 500 is not about fundamentals. It's about who are the largest companies that are somewhat profitable, which is what Tesla met the standard for. And he goes into this rant, the fourth tweet, he starts talking about bubble darlings. He starts talking about bubble stocks that failed in the past, that rose and then fell. And he goes into this big rant about Yahoo. He goes into this big rant at Yahoo. Yahoo went public in 1996. He talks about how it blew up. He talks about how the S&P announced that it would go in the index and it blew up. This is a common thing that you'll see with TSLAQ, with FUD, with people attacking Tesla, is they will compare Tesla to something else. Now, Yahoo is just a different business, and Yahoo's business didn't work out. If you were thinking about buying into the internet, Yahoo was a pretty good investment because Yahoo was a leader. It looked at the time like portals were the way forward. We didn't know at the time that Yahoo was booming that it was going to be about search, not about portals. We didn't know that portals were going to fade. Portals faded. But at the time, people looking at it, I think it was a reasonable call to say, hey, Yahoo looks good. This is the way the internet's going. Let's go with it. So it was a risk. It was a gamble that Yahoo would get big. But Tesla's just a completely different animal. Tesla is not an internet company. Tesla is a lot of different companies. He calls it a car company in his rant. But Tesla is a car company. It's an energy company. It's a software company. There's a lot going on here. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see where else we go. There's a bunch. I didn't use every tweet out of the 58. But he says, never has the S&P 500 committee brought in a company so large by market cap as will be the case with Tesla's inclusion. Well, you got to, if Tesla continues to grow, at some point the S&P 500 would have to include Tesla if it's going to stay consistent with its mission. The longer it waits, the worse it gets if Tesla keeps growing. So he is of the opinion, as you'll see here, that Tesla's share price, Tesla's valuation is completely ridiculous, and so it doesn't belong in the index because something is cheating. And in the third tweet, you'll see the third tweet on this screen. Third tweet here. Tesla had cut R&D and SG&A, that's research and development and selling general administrative expenses, drew on reserves and leaned on environmental carbon credits to, quote, earn a GAAP profit for a necessary 4 quarters, and they did so for 5. So first of all, Tesla is not cutting investment. Tesla is building new factories. Tesla is not cutting R&D. Tesla is investing heavily in full self-driving and developing all kinds of technology. They're investing heavily in batteries. They built a new pilot line in Fremont. This idea, now it may be that the numbers got cut. I'm not sure what happened, but anybody who follows Tesla's business knows that Tesla is investing heavily in R&D. I think selling general administrative expenses, sure, Tesla's trying to be careful with some of its expenses, But the suggestion that Tesla is cutting research and development is just absolutely absurd. Tesla is investing heavily. They're doing all this stuff. That's nonsense. Drew on reserves. I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Tesla's cash is up. Even without the cap raise, as far as I can tell, Tesla is cash flow positive. Everything I've seen, I'm not an expert on reading these financial statements. I'm just going with what I see from like Hyperchange. From what I can see, it seems to me Tesla is cash flow positive. They earn money from FSD that they don't count. And sometimes they recognize FSD revenue when there's a significant improvement in full self-driving. And leaned on environmental carbon credits. Why is this a problem? This is the marketplace that we live in. That there are companies that don't produce EVs and they need to get carbon credits from somewhere because that's the way the government regulations work in whatever country they're in. And they buy those credits from Tesla. NIO has the same... People who will say the competition is coming, oh, look at NIO. NIO, in their financial statements, brag about environmental credits and how they're trying to increase them. So if you're going to say NIO is the competition for Tesla and you're saying, oh, look at NIO, well, NIO is doing regulatory credits too. And everything I've seen, and it's funny, you can get Elon, but you look at Zach Kirkhorn, they're expecting these environmental carbon credits to grow. Governments are encouraging low emission vehicles, zero emission vehicles, and Tesla's producing more of them, and other companies aren't really producing that much. So there's going to be more opportunities for these credits, not less. This is not a fictional profit. This is real money. So they did so for 5. Then he refers to this is one of these moments right here at the bottom here. Right here at the bottom, he talks about oddly revenues only grew 15% in 2019 prior to the pandemic, in part for reduction in customer tax incentives. Okay, it's coming the next thing. Revenues grew in 2019. Where's the problem? Tesla, it's not about revenues. The growth is uneven when you've got exponential growth. You're going to have bumps, but 15% growth isn't bad for any company, but it's going to get bigger. But here it comes, I think. So right here, he says, impressively, they have grown revenues 15% for the first 9 months of 2020 during the crisis, while the incumbents saw sales declines. No doubt the business is growing, but how to value it. That's that moment when your thesis is Tesla is this isn't a real company. They're never going to achieve this, blah, blah, blah. Tesla grew in the middle of a crisis. All the other companies fell. That should tell you something. That should tell you that this is a hardy, successful company, cutting-edge company that's growing fast. If they grew 15% in 9 months in a crisis, how good are they going to be when there's no crisis? So there's that glimmer of recognition there by this guy that he suddenly sees something there, but he doesn't translate that. And he says, well, no doubt the business is growing, but how to value it. And he doesn't have a mechanism for how to value Tesla. And if you follow my channel, I just published a video where I talked about how to value Tesla. You have to look to the future, and he's a value guy. He's not a growth guy. He seems to have no grip on how to value a growth company. You have to look at how is this company going to grow? What's the growth path? What's the growth story? And if you follow Tesla, if you watched Battery Day and you drew logical conclusions from Battery Day, if you watched Autonomy Day and you drew logical conclusions from Autonomy Day, and a lot of this was spelled out. Elon spelled out the Robo-Taxi profit model. He literally put the profit numbers per vehicle on the screen. He had a slide with it. If you paid attention, you see the growth story. And you have to ask, so how do you value it? Well, you ask the question, okay, let's look down the road. Let's not look at 2021. Let's not look at 2022. I like looking at those, and I think you can look at 2022 for some guidance. But let's go further down the road. Let's say, what's going to happen in 2030? Let's be long-term investors. Let's look at a long-term time horizon. And let's say, where's Tesla going to be in 2030? Well, they told you on Battery Day. Elon said they are aiming to produce 3 terawatt hours of high nickel batteries by 2030, sooner if they can. They also said they will continue buying batteries from partners, from Panasonic, from LG Chem, from CATL, maybe from others. They're going to buy more batteries. The impression that I have is Tesla is going to make high nickel batteries for itself, at least initially only high nickel batteries. And it's teaching and helping CATL, LG Chem, and Panasonic to make the 4680 cells for the medium nickel strategy, nickel manganese, and for iron phosphate. Oh, there goes the nose again. Oh, man. Sorry about that. For the iron phosphate batteries for CATL. And Iron phosphate is going to, this is one of those things loosely related to this guy or not related to this guy. Let me take this off the screen for a second. It's number 5. I keep seeing criticism that Tesla's not going to succeed because there's not enough nickel being mined and they won't be able to support the growth in batteries. But if you followed Battery Day, what you should realize is of the terawatt hours of batteries that will be produced in 2030, of the vision that Tesla has and Elon and Drew have for 2030, that there will be all these batteries in 2030, 20 terawatt hours produced globally. I'm predicting 80% of those batteries are going to be iron phosphate batteries. Iron phosphate batteries use iron and phosphate and graphite and lithium. When you get to nickel-based batteries, there's a question about how quickly nickel can get mined and how much nickel can be mined to supply all the batteries that Tesla wants to make. It's going to happen, but there's certainly a question about whether the supply chain will respond fast enough to deliver the high nickel cells that Tesla wants. But with iron phosphate, there's no such challenge. Iron is ubiquitous. There's no problem sourcing iron. There's no problem sourcing phosphate. There's no problem sourcing graphite. Lithium's pretty easy. So the iron phosphate cells are going to grow like wildfire. They're going to supply all the grid storage. They're going to supply all the 2023 Robo-Taxis. They're already in the Made in China Model 3. We're going to see iron phosphate cells spread, especially when they get to the 4680 cell and they're able to get a little bit more efficiency and range out of them. That's where that's going. The low-end models are going to be lithium iron phosphate, and that's going to be the most of the volume of the vehicles. So, let me go back with the glasses here. So he talked about inclusion again, and again he relates it to Yahoo, and he relates it to Toyota. I love this. He relates it to Toyota. He compares Tesla's market cap to Toyota, the other car manufacturers, and this is that limited thinking that a lot of people have. Tesla's a car company, Tesla's a car company, Tesla's a car company. Tesla is not just a car company. Tesla is not just a car company. Tesla is a car company. It's a battery company. It's a software company. It's an energy company. It's a solar company. It's a transportation company. It's a lot of things. There's so much going on here. And this guy just can't wrap his head. Christopher Bloomstran cannot wrap his head around what Tesla is. So he takes his shot at it without, he could have gone on YouTube and watched Galley, Hyperchange. He could have watched Solving the Money Problem. He could have watched me. He could have watched Limiting Factor. There are many channels. He could have watched Tesla Daily with Rob Maurer. If you want to know more about Tesla, there's loads of information. You could watch Battery Day. You could watch the Autonomy Day. In order to deny what Tesla's doing, you basically have to not watch what the bulls are saying. There's sort of this notion that we're just running around saying, oh, Tesla's going up, Tesla's going up. And as if we're not thinking about why Tesla is going up. And the problem is, you're not thinking about what Mr. Bloomstran, you are not thinking about why Tesla is going up. It's because we see the growth story and you don't. And maybe you should be looking harder. So, he goes into share counts, dilution. These are all real issues. There's going to be some dilution. When I do my models, just so you know, and I say Tesla's going to have, let's say, a $10 trillion market cap, and that translates to $1,000 a share, that's taking some dilution into account. Okay, because I realize there's dilution. I realize my numbers might not be perfect, but okay, there's some dilution. He refers to it as a car company with $30 billion in sales. Well, when a company is growing fast, and this is one of those questions, how fast is the company growing? In order to think about how fast the company is growing, you need to understand what the company is doing, and he shows no signs of that. He refers to the share price being 25, the valuation being 25 times sales. Yeah, that's high for a company that's not growing. 2,000 times GAAP earnings. This is one of those moments. What was Amazon's earnings in 2013? Right? Amazon did not earn a lot of profits for most of its history. I bought Amazon in 2013. I'm up like 10, 11, 12x. Okay. It didn't have a lot of earnings. I bet on the company. It delivered. I made a lot of money. I see Tesla as a 10x or greater company from where it stands now. In other words, it's not overvalued. It's undervalued. Tesla is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar company. Multi-trillion-dollar company. $5 trillion company, $10 trillion company, or bigger by 2030. And when you're paying $700 a share for a stock that's going to be worth $5,000 or $10,000 10 years from now, you're getting a bargain. You're getting a bargain, and he just can't see it. So, but he's sort of criticizing the S&P 500. Not, they're doing what they're doing. He's criticizing the idea of passive investing, and this is an example of where he sees the problem. The reality is, this is a small risk for S&P 500 investors. Tesla's like 1.5%, 2% of the fund. Big deal. If they lose it, they lose it. That's not a big impact. So, he asks, what prospective return does the Tesla bull expect, or the passive investor with 1.75% of cash? 1.75% is roughly the share that Tesla will take of the S&P 500. And he says at 15% a year, the market cap, assuming no further dilution, grows to $3 trillion over the next decade. Okay. Why would you look at the growth in market cap and just assign a random 15% a year growth rate? That's not looking at the fundamentals of the business. That's just picking a random, well, what if it only grows 15% a year? And then he goes in the next tweet, he says at only 10% a year, the fully diluted market cap grows to $2 trillion. Well, where are you coming up with your 10 or 15% numbers? He's just pulling numbers out of the air. If he wants to know what prospective return Tesla bulls expect, I'm expecting 50% growth on average a year over the next 10 years. Okay? I'm not expecting 10% growth. This is a growth. The reason the valuation is so high, the reason people are willing to pay so much for the stock is we, the Tesla bulls, think the company is growing a lot faster than Christopher Bloomstran thinks it's going to grow. And he doesn't explain where his 15% a year or 10% a year number comes from. Where'd that come from, Mr. Bloomstran? Where'd you get that? He just literally does not see where the problem is with that. And then he gets into margins. He says, let's assume the company earns some blend of automaker profit and a subscription software Robo-Taxi margin of 30%. Why would Robo-Taxi margin be only 30%? Why would it, does he even know what Robo-Taxi is? Robo-Taxi is not subscription software. Robo-Taxi is Uber and Lyft without having to pay the drivers, with lower cost per mile because the electric vehicles are more efficient than gas-powered vehicles. He has zero clue. Robo-Taxi margin, if you're just selling FSD, let's say for $10,000 a vehicle, the margin's like 80 or 90% on the FSD software. Subscription, Elon has talked about a subscription. The cost of, the Robo-Taxi hardware is already in the car. It's in every car Tesla builds. The only cost is flicking a switch, or even it's like hitting a button on a computer and saying enable the software. The margin's like close to 100%. Where did you get 30%? He just pulls that out of the air. And he says call it a blunt 20% blended profit margin at the impossible 20% margin. Why is this impossible? And again, this is one of those things people don't see. So if you go back to the internal combustion engine, which I'm afraid I still drive one today, but you look at the history of the internal combustion engine, for ballpark of 100 plus years, manufacturers have been building internal combustion engines and making them more efficient and making them more efficient and making them more efficient and making cars more efficient in a variety of ways. And today's, I have a 2-liter turbo in my Volkswagen Passat that is derived from the 1.8-liter turbo I had in my 2002 Audi A4 Avant. And it's much more efficient. They made a lot of improvements. But it's not 90% more efficient. It's like 10% more efficient. They made some gains. Electric vehicles are radically more efficient than internal combustion engine vehicles. And the improvements are still there. We're early in the day of electric vehicles improving efficiency, and electric vehicles are improving in efficiency much faster than internal combustion engine vehicles, because internal combustion engine vehicles are at the long flat tail of that curve. EVs are in the steep part of the curve. They're getting more and more efficient, faster and faster and faster. So he doesn't get that. And by the way, nowhere in this thing does he mention solar or grid storage. Like, he's not even aware that grid storage is an issue for Tesla. So he gets here and he says in the bottom here, to finance the necessary capital stock to produce $335 billion in revenue will require about half that much in capital, either debt or equity. This is, MBA talk. Where did he come up with it? He's basically saying they're going to need $170 billion in capital investment. From what I see, Tesla is investing $2 billion a gigafactory, $3 billion a gigafactory. Maybe it's more than that. But, You do 5 gigafactories at $5 billion a piece, it's $25 billion. That's not $170 billion. He has no grip on how efficient this stuff is. He has no sense of how fast this stuff grows, how amazing the Tesla developments are. So let's move on to next tweet. He says, car companies require roughly $1 in capital to produce $1 in revenues. But remember, we're assuming this is a software company or whatever else hallucinogens conjure up in the minds of bulls. It's not hallucinogens. I study the company. Anybody who knows me knows I've researched Tesla, what Tesla's doing backwards and forwards. I've looked at everything. I've looked at what the critics say. I'm not on I'm on mathawana. I don't use marijuana. I use math. Call it mathawana. I look at where they're heading. I use simple math. If you watch my videos, you know I just do fairly simple math and I get to where we need to get. This idea that you need $1 in capital to produce $1 in revenues, where did you get that? Did you just make that up out of the air? What does that mean? You know, I don't know where that came from. That's MBA speak. He pulls it out of the air. Does that apply to Tesla? Is Tesla a different kind of company? I don't know where that comes from. And he suggests Tesla just sell at the market blocks. In other words, Tesla keeps selling shares of stock, doing more capital raises and taking the cash. I don't think Tesla's doing that. I think Tesla's growing, and they're growing for the sake of growing so that they can build a bigger company. Through the end of 2019, Tesla had sold $12.7 billion in shares and borrowed $16 billion in debt and preferred stock. Everything I've seen, Tesla is lowering their debt. Total capital raised exceeded revenues of $25 billion. I'm not sure where he's getting his numbers. I know that with the stock up, there was a decision made, let's increase the war chest and let's pay off some debt. And he's calling it a $6 billion cumulative loss. I can't say where his numbers are getting. I watch people who get into these numbers a lot deeper. You know, Tesla Daily with Rob Maurer. I watch Hyperchange with Gali. I don't see where he's getting a $6 billion loss. I see a company that's growing and making money. So this guy is, pulling it out of his ass, for lack of a better term. So he says, from a business case and investment standpoint, the math doesn't work. Consider that total automobiles sold worldwide peaked 2 years ago at about 95 million passenger and commercial car and truck units. At $20,000 per new vehicle, we can call the global auto market $2 trillion in size. Okay, Tesla's not a car company. Tesla's not just a car company. Tesla's not just a car company. Tesla's not just a car company. The global auto market is growing. The global auto market, Tesla's goal is to replace 2 billion internal combustion engine vehicles. By the time we get to 2030, I think there will have been a total of a ballpark of 2.5 billion internal combustion engine vehicles in the global fleet. Tesla is aiming to replace that fleet. They're hoping to have help. They're hoping other companies come along. But this idea that he's just pulling this out of his head. Well, the global auto market is $2 trillion in size. Where are you getting that? So he says, our example has Tesla's market cap growing over the next decade at only 10% a year to like $2 trillion. So he's confused here. Okay, he's comparing the size of the global auto market, which is annual revenue, with Tesla's market cap in his fictional Tesla market cap in 2030 of $2 trillion. Market cap and revenue aren't the same thing. That a $2 trillion market cap would be $200 billion in revenue, which would be 10% of the global auto market. So he doesn't seem to be getting that. He talks about, he compares it to Ferrari, he compares it to Toyota. Again, Tesla isn't the same as these other car companies. This is just nonsense talk. He's not looking at the company. Auto manufacturers trade for less than sales because they make 3% net margins and earn that same 3% on capital, and revenues grow at 3%. But Tesla's not growing at 3%. You're conceding that Tesla's grew 15% this year. If Tesla grows the aforementioned sales for the next decade by 28% to $335 billion, it won't. The stock will trade for no more than one-time sales because it's a car company. No, it's not just a car company. This is like, he keeps saying it to persuade himself it's just a car company. What are those solar panels doing? What are power walls? Does he know what Megapack is? Does he know what AutoBidder is? He has no grip on this company. Zero grip on this company. He has no idea what he's talking about. He says if it earns Toyota's best-in-class 6% margin, even allowing for software upgrades, it earns $20 billion and trades for 25x or a $500 billion market cap. Okay, where are you getting 6% margins when you're not figuring out the margins on energy? You're not figuring out the margins on Robo-Taxi. You're not figuring out, suppose there's no Robo-Taxi. You're not figuring out the margins on FSD. He has no grip on where Robo-Taxi could go. He has none of this. And he's correct. Here's how he's correct. If Tesla delivers nothing of what it's trying to achieve, if it executes absolutely zero, then Tesla might end up with a $500 billion market cap. And those of us, and anybody who bought at $700 a share will go down to $500 a share. So that's the absolute bear case scenario. He's not predicting bankruptcy. He's not like these bankrupt, nonsense people. If the risky scenario for a Tesla investor is you're going to end up losing 20% of your value, don't forget the bull case scenario. The bull scenario is this stock is going through the roof, and he just literally, it never occurred to him to ask, what do bulls think is going to happen? What is the bull story? He has no grip on it. I don't know where this guy's coming from. So here's his, quote, realistic case. The performance from the stock from here is a giant loss over time, and the Tesla cult loses interest in the brand. We're going to stop liking electric vehicles. We're going to stop liking self-driving cars. We're going to stop liking cars that cost less per mile. Does he know that the total cost per ownership of a Tesla Model 3 is less than the total cost of ownership of a Toyota Camry? Does he know that you can charge in your garage? Does he know that you almost never go to a gas station again? You never have to change your oil. You never have to worry about your muffler. All these amazing things. If Robo-Taxi never happens and you own a Tesla, you never have to fill a tank. You go to a supercharger once in a while when you go on a long trip. You never have to do an oil change. You never have to worry about the mufflers. A lot of maintenance that you used to have to worry about, you don't have to worry about. If we get to the Robo-Taxi world, if you watched my last video or previous videos where I talked about Robo-Taxi, it's insane. He doesn't even conceive of the Robo-Taxi world. He doesn't conceive of the possibility that a company that has 1.5 factories currently, at the end of 2020 is operating basically 1.5 factories, will at the end of 2021 be operating 4 factories. What's the growth rate of going from one old factory, half of a newer factory, and 2 more completely new factories? What's the growth rate? What growth rate does that imply? It ain't 10%. It ain't 20%. If you go from 1.5 factories to 4 factories, you're more than doubling your output. And he clearly does not see that. Then he gets it right here. He gets into this thing where he talks about Elon Musk using his inflated shares as currency to acquire another manufacturer with capacity, as he mentioned he'd be up for in a friendly merger of equals. No, I have a video where I went through that. I don't know if I covered that specific point because it was dumb. Once I think it was the CEO panel with the German entrepreneurs and CEOs, and somebody asked him, would you consider merging with another company? Maybe it was the Wall Street Journal guy, I forget who. And Elon said, we'd consider it, which he has to say because, that's a fiscal responsibility, fiduciary responsibility of the company. Tesla has never talked in any of its, Battery Day, Autonomy Day, any of its quarterly calls, any of its investor calls. I've never heard Tesla say we're looking to acquire a company. A merger. There's no equals. There's no equals to merge with. No one is equal to Tesla. This idea that these other car companies are equal to Tesla is laughable. No one has made a car. All these brilliant car companies, all these great car companies. Has anyone made a vehicle as good as the 2012 Tesla Model S? Maybe the Porsche Taycan doesn't have the range, but maybe. Now take a step forward. Look at today's 2021 Tesla Model S long range. Over 400 miles of range. Has anyone made a vehicle comparable, in any way comparable, to the Model S long range or the Model S Performance, which is an outrageous performer? Nobody's close. And Tesla is innovating faster. Somebody else is trying to catch up to where Tesla is. Tesla's moving ahead. So, this is just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And I love this. He says the point of that message was that incumbents won't take his dangerous script in a deal. General Motors just was involved in a deal with Nikola, which is a total joke. Lucid Motors is pretty clearly, to me, looking to position itself to get acquired by a major car company. I don't think Lucid Motors is ever going to produce a car, and people talk about Lucid like they're the future. No, and people talk about NIO like they're growing. People talk about XPeng like they're growing. Why is Tesla missing out on that? So his story is he sees Elon continuing to have to sell new shares perpetually to finance growth. For First of all, if Tesla needed to finance a new factory, they could borrow locally like they did in Shanghai. They don't have to sell shares to do it. By contrast, Mr. Buffett, Warren Buffett is apparently the guru, even though he hasn't had a few good years here, points out he'd prefer new and current shareholders to have a fair experience in his company's shares. Whatever, he's talking about automakers. He says, we'll see what happens after Monday when Tesla assumes the number 6 perch in the index. When the argument for passive is low fees, remind me in 10 years how much of the loss in Tesla's shares here should be considered a fee or a tax on stupidity. This is again going back to the S&P 500, is his fixation with that. He's thinking a decline of 80 to 90% would be heavy but realistic. This is that question. Whenever you have a Tesla bear, a TSLAQ, perma bear, I like to call him, you just ask this question. How many batteries do you think Tesla will make in 2030? How many batteries, gigawatt hours, terawatt hours, how many batteries in gigawatt hours or terawatt hours do you think Tesla will produce in 2030? How many batteries will they buy from suppliers in 2030? And what will they do with those batteries? What products will they produce? And how much will they sell for? And this guy probably isn't even aware that Tesla's making batteries. He literally does not know that Tesla's making batteries. But, we know, if we're paying attention, that LG Chem is scaling up battery production for Tesla. We know CATL and Panasonic are both scaling up battery production for Tesla. The suppliers are scaling up batteries to make more batteries because Tesla is going to buy those batteries and produce more cars. And Tesla is scaling up battery production too. You have to ask this question, where is this battery production? If you're going to do fundamentals, the fundamentals of Tesla, the limiting factor is battery production. If they have enough batteries to do what they want to do, they can make the products they want to make. If they don't have the batteries, they can't do it. So if he said somewhere in here they'll never be able to get the batteries they need, okay, well then why do you say that? But he doesn't even get to batteries. He never, in a 58 tweet rant, he never mentioned the word battery once. When people talk about the competition is coming and, Volkswagen's going to make 300,000 EVs by 2023, where's Volkswagen getting the batteries from? Why doesn't anybody ask that question when they talk about Volkswagen competing? Or General Motors, they're going to make Ultium. Where are they getting the batteries from? What's their battery chemistry? What's the technology? How is it competitive? It's nonsense. It's nonsense. The guy's got nothing. So this is the end of his rant. He's criticizing the S&P 500 for adding Tesla at present evaluation. I don't know when he thinks Tesla should have been added. Did he think that the bubble was going to vanish? Was S&P 500 supposed to wait an indefinite amount of time until this fictional bubble was going to vanish? Until the bubble was going to pop? How do you know? The S&P 500 operates the way it operates. Sure, there's a risk something goes wrong. That's the way that passive index investing works. But passive index investing has low transactions costs and avoids bad active managers. We don't know how good of a manager Christopher Bloomstran is in picking companies. We don't know how well he's done. Is he doing better than the S&P 500? We don't know. So we'll see. He says if Tesla repeats the same return over the next year, the market cap would be 6.3 trillion. Now, I'm not predicting 6.3 trillion in a year. I'm a bull. Do I think Tesla is worth that much today? Yeah, I do, but I don't think the stock is going to go up that fast. And I think Tesla is worth 6 trillion today because I think of where it's heading in 10 years. But this idea that, I don't think many Tesla bulls think the stock is going to go up another, 10x in a year. I think it's going to go up 10x or more in 5 years and maybe 50x or 100x in 10 years. But I don't think it's going to happen overnight like that. I think it should. I think if investors thought about the future, if you see, just like when the rocket landed, that was a sign. This is something real. This is something special. When I bought stock in Amazon, and Amazon started growing, and they started improving their delivery and 2-day delivery, and they started doing Amazon Prime Video. All these other things start coming together. You start to realize, and Amazon Web Services, you start to realize, wow, this company is really delivering. Then you start bidding up the stock. The question is, if the growth story is real, when do ordinary investors like Christopher Bloomstran recognize, wait a minute, this is real? This is something serious. When did they figure that out? I don't know the answer to that question. So, here's my questions for Christopher Bloomstran. I don't think he's going to answer them. How many gigawatt hours or terawatt hours of batteries will Tesla make in 2030? How many will they buy from suppliers? What products will they make with those and sell with those batteries? And how much revenue does that work out to? I have a ballpark of $600 or $700 a kilowatt hour of revenue When Tesla sells a Model 3, it essentially represents, let's say, 60 kilowatt hours. If it sells the Model 3 for $40,000, you multiply by 600 times the kilowatt hours, and you get to about the $40,000 that the car sells for. So, and you do the same thing with Powerwall. You do the same thing with Megapack. For most of Tesla's products, a number between $600 and $800 a kilowatt hour translates to revenue. Roadster is much higher revenue per kilowatt hour. So there's some variation, and power and solar doesn't have kilowatt hours to go with it. So you have to blend Powerwall with solar to come up with a number, and I think you get $1,000 a kilowatt hour when you combine Powerwall and solar roof together. So $600 a kilowatt hour, that's $600,000 a megawatt hour, that's $600 million a gigawatt hour, that's $600 billion a terawatt hour. Let me do that again. $600 a kilowatt hour, $600,000 a megawatt hour, $600 million, $600 million a megawatt hour, and $600 billion a terawatt hour. $600 billion a terawatt hour. So now you ask the question, how many terawatt hours of batteries do you think Tesla will produce and buy from suppliers in 2030? If your answer is 1 terawatt hour, which I think is startlingly low compared to the 6 they're targeting, that would be $600 billion in revenue in 2030. To me, that's a pessimist case for where Tesla is going in 2030, is 1 terawatt hour of batteries, $600 billion in revenue. Well, what does $600 billion in revenue translate to in terms of market cap? If it's a growing company, because if it only has 1 terawatt hour, they got a lot of room to grow. It's grown a lot to get to 1 terawatt hour. So you're looking at a significant growth rate. You're probably looking at a price to sales ratio of 5. So you have a $3 trillion market cap. And that to me is like a really, really strong bear case, an extreme bear case. What if it's 3 terawatt hours, which would be half of Tesla's real goal? That would be $1.8 trillion in revenue. Still growing. It's insane. And that doesn't count Robo-Taxi profits. That doesn't count how profitable solar might be, grid storage might be. It doesn't count the profits that might come from Autobidder. Crazy. So you have to look at that question. And then the other question for Mr. Bloomstran is, suppose Tesla succeeds in robo-taxis. How much profit will each robo-taxi generate per year, and for how many years? Okay, that's a simple question. Somewhere, if you're a like I'm an optimist, I think Tesla's going to deliver robo-taxi by the end of 2021, and we're going to start seeing them significant numbers in sometime before the end of 2022. I live in Florida. People who are criticizing, oh, government won't allow this. Florida has extremely favorable laws for robo-taxis. They're legal today, and Florida law prohibits local governments from regulating them or taxing the vehicles or the networks that operate them. So Florida is going to have robo-taxis as soon as they're ready. China looks very favorable to robo-taxis. There are other states that are favorable. I'm expecting Michigan's going to be a holdout because Ford and GM have a lot of influence over Michigan. But by and large, most places are going to be favorable. Las Vegas is going to be favorable. We've got the Boring Company project in Las Vegas. Check out my friend The Boring Revolutions channel to learn more about that. Great videos about what's going on there. And what happens is if you have robo-taxis operating in Orlando and Miami, and you have robo-taxis operating in Las Vegas, a lot of tourists go to these places, and they're going to experience the robo-taxi network, and they're going to get home, and they're going to say, hey, how come we don't have those here? And that drumbeat is going to grow, that pressure is going to grow, and you're going to see robo-taxis spread. So here's the question. How much profit will each robo-taxi generate per year? Elon ballparked it at $30,000. $30,000 a year. And they have roughly, I think in his model, they had an 11-year life. I'm going to say it's a 10-year life. That's $300,000 in profit for each robo-taxi over 10 years. $30,000 a year. How many robo-taxis are there going to be? Elon said the company's fleet would be 10 million. I think he's sandbagging. I think the company fleet's going to get to 100 million vehicles, but that's a whole nother conversation I get in arguments with people about we don't need to have here. But let's suppose it's 10 million robo-taxis making $30,000 a year in profit. It's like laughable. 10 times 30 is 300. billion. $300 billion in profit if it's only 10 million robo-taxis, and that's just Tesla's fleet. That doesn't count all the privately owned vehicles that you and I own that we're running as robo-taxis, and Tesla gets a cut. So it's insane. And I think we're talking about 100 million robo-taxis making $30,000 a year in profit. And 100 times 30 is 3,000 billion, $3 trillion in profit, not revenue, profit. If you just go to the 300 billion in profit and you leave all the other profits out, all the selling vehicle profits out, all the solar profit out, you only have $300 billion in profit, and you have a 30 price earnings ratio, which is less than McDonald's. McDonald's is now over a 30 price earnings ratio. If you just have a 30 price earnings ratio on $300 billion in profit, that's $9 trillion. $9 trillion market cap. And that's a pessimist case again. That's only 10 million robo-taxis. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's okay. And then the last thing was, what are the prospects for solar roof, Powerwall, and grid storage over the next 10 years? This guy never mentioned any of that in his rant. Does he know about solar roof? Does he know about Powerwall? Does he know about Megapack? Does he know about solar panels? Is he aware that the cost of solar energy is declining really fast? It was in Battery Day. They talked about it in Battery Day. Did he miss it? What happened? Did he not see it? I don't know what happened there. He missed it. He didn't talk about it. So then one other thing, there was one tweet that responded. I think he responded to me when I responded to Bloomstran. He says, eventually reality and competition happens. Expect EV shipments from Tesla to drop once all automakers roll out EV cars and similar software. Once all automakers roll out EV cars and similar software. What are they waiting for? The Model S was 8 years ago. The Roadster was, I don't even know how long ago. 12 years ago? The Model 3 was like 2017, 2018. The Model Y's rolling out. Tesla's they're going to have made 500,000 cars this year. I think they're going to achieve 1 million cars next year. Where is everybody? The Mustang Mach-E is not as good as the Model Y, and they're hoping to turn out 50,000 next year, the Ford Mustang Mach-E. The Volkswagen ID3 and ID4, maybe they'll achieve 50,000 vehicles in 2021. Who knows? Are they going to be able to get the batteries? Are people going to buy them? If you drove a Tesla Model 3 and you drove a Volkswagen ID3, who knows? And then, I'm not big on this question, but a lot of Tesla nuts who are Biden fans say Biden is going to increase the EV credit so that $7,500 is going to apply to Tesla vehicles as well. He's going to reinstate the EV credit. Because one of the big arguments I see people saying is, the Mustang is going to sell well because you're going to get this credit and Tesla doesn't get the credit. Well, okay. But if you're going to criticize Tesla for benefiting from regulatory credits, why are you giving Ford benefit for taking advantage of credits? Make up your mind. That's a short-term thing. That doesn't really last. Is Ford going to be able to scale up to produce 500,000 or 1 million electric vehicles? I don't know. We'll see. Where are they going to get the batteries? GM has been making the Bolt. Why hasn't the Bolt expanded? Why haven't they accelerated production of the Bolt? There's something radically different. We haven't even talked about the dealership advantage. Tesla doesn't have a dealership model. That saves them a huge amount of money. It makes a much more pleasant buying experience. You can buy online. It's easy. I was shopping for the Mustang Mach-E, and you see the price. Oh, it was, I think it was Ben Sullins did a video where he talked about, he test drove the Mustang Mach-E, and he gave a price. And the price he gave wasn't for the vehicle he was driving. He was driving the high-end one that's like a $60,000 plus vehicle, and he gave a $43,000 price, which is for the lowest-end vehicle. But when you go to a dealership and you plug it in to buy it, the dealer's, stacking on another $6,000 or $8,000 onto the price. So it doesn't really cost what they're telling you it costs. They're basically taking the $7,500 credit, and it's not going to you, it's going to Ford or the dealer. So, this is where I said that, 5 years ago, SpaceX landed its first Falcon 9. There's big players in the launch market. There's Boeing, there's, United Launch Alliance, there's Arianespace, there's the Chinese, there's the Russians. Where's the competitor? How come no one else has landed an orbital rocket booster? If it's so easy, why haven't they done it? Amazon has been killing online shopping for over 10 years. People said Walmart's going to come along and take them out. Well, Amazon kept growing. Walmart's doing okay, but Amazon's still winning the online shopping game. By the way, I'm an Amazon investor too, and I'm an Amazon shopper. I think we may be averaging a package a day at my house right now for Amazon, and that's not even Christmas shopping. We don't do Christmas shopping. That's just our ordinary. We buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. It's convenient. The iPhone has competition from Android. Oh, Google's coming. Oh, what about Nokia? Was Nokia going to take out the iPhone? They were going to make a better smartphone? Didn't happen. Apple is worth $2 trillion. What were you saying about competition? The competition isn't coming. The competition coming is the biggest whine in the TSLAQ universe. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, that is my rant in response to Christopher Bloomstran's rant. Bloomstran's rant. Mr. Bloomstran, if you are watching this, I would love to have you on and have a conversation, but I would suggest, before you have this conversation with me, that you watch the Autonomy Day video and you watch the Battery Day video, and then we can have an intelligent conversation. So, that's all my stuff to put up on the screen. I want to thank everyone for watching that part of it. So let's look at some questions. Only Tesla's been scaling up to make enough batteries. John H., I agree with you on that. Let's see, what do we got? Teslas have autopilot, which is very different from simple lane keeping. Absolutely. I see people talking about Mobileye and, somehow Mobileye's coming along, and you'll see this occasional video where, I just saw this video somebody sent me, where a Mobileye drives for like 40 minutes self-driving. We don't know that there isn't a remote driver making sure everything goes okay. What we know with full self-driving is that there's 50 or 100 people out there driving full self-driving. There's Earl of Frunk Puppies. There's, Omar does it sometimes. Kristen Netton does it, K10. All these people are posting videos. I can't think of her name. Kim Paquette. Kim Paquette blocked me on Twitter for some reason, but whatever. She's wonderful anyway. There's all these people posting videos. I think Dirty Tesla's doing it. Lots of people posting videos of themselves driving around in full self-driving. I've driven full self-driving. It was a while ago, I drove a Model 3. More recently, I drove a Model Y that had autopilot, but not full self-driving. It's amazing. When somebody says Mobileye is going to do it, or Waymo is going to do it, or Zoox is going to do it, or, where are the people? Comma.ai has got something. They at least have like lane keeping and some braking, and they're kind of getting there. And they at least have people posting videos, and you can actually see some of that. But the other ones, they're not even putting it on the road yet. Tesla is accumulating billions of miles of experience. They have advanced hardware in the cars. By the way, FSD 3 chips are in most of Tesla's cars. They're all the cars they make today, and as far as we know, they're in all the cars we make today. They may have FSD 4 already in them. I don't know. But they're pretty much the whole fleet is now equipped with FSD 3 version 3 chips. I think FSD version 4 chip is coming this year. The FSD version 4 chip is going to use less energy, which means you're going to get more range. It's going to be faster. It's going to be able to process more. It's going to have other advantages, which we can't really... I don't feel like I know enough about self-driving, the technology, to understand what the gains are going to be. Maybe it'll be able to track vehicles further away. Maybe it'll be able to track more vehicles at once or more objects. I'm not sure exactly what the accomplishments are going to be, but that's going to be amazing. I'm expecting we're going to have a new Autonomy Day introducing the version 4 chip sometime in 2021. Maybe they'll push it to 2022, but I think it's going to be 2021. And full self-driving beta is getting spread to a wider audience, and sometime in 2021, that will no longer be in beta. And every Tesla that has full self-driving will have the foundational rewrite. Everything will be running. It'll be great. And yes, it'll be in Canada. Yes, it'll be in other countries. Let me get a question. Calum asks, thoughts on the charging rate of the 4680 cells? Good question. So I believe that the lithium iron phosphate cells charge a little faster in general. And I believe the 4680 cells increase charging rate, but not as fast as some people think. I think it buys you an extra 20% speed. So if it would take you half an hour to charge up 80%, now it takes maybe 25 minutes to charge up 20%. Something like that. I think it's a gain, but I don't think it's that huge. And there may be changes coming in the chemistry that will make it faster, but I don't think charging rate matters as much as other people do. If you get the range up, and you improve the how it uses the range, then then you need to do fast charging less frequently, and it doesn't matter. And by the way, fast charging does not decrease the life of a lithium iron. I think lithium iron phosphate, by the way, is the huge story that people are missing in batteries. Let's see. When will my FSD be activated? I don't know the answer to that. Will Tesla stock fall 10 to 20% on Monday? I don't like making short-term predictions about stocks. That's the animal spirits. I like to say the market will fluctuate. Very hard to say where Tesla's going on a given day. It can go up and go. I saw somebody saying Tesla stock's going to fall $500 a share. Yeah, after it hits 5,000, maybe it'll fall back 500 to 4,500. Who knows? Can you loan me your Tesla shares for a year? No. Warren, level 5 launch date. I think level 5 will launch by the end of 2021 or early 2022. Tesla's going to be the first over the $100 trillion market. Well, first of all, Tesla will be the first over $5 trillion. Oh, thank you, Mentalect. Thank you for your contribution. Any thoughts on ARK Invest statement? We believe there's a 25% probability that Tesla could be worth $15,000 per share or more in 2024. I agree with that. I think the probability. So there's two questions in there, Mentalect. Question number one is, what will Tesla really be worth in 2024? In other words, what would I think of objectively? What is the company worth in 2024? And then what will the share price be in 2024? So that's a question of whether the investors will have caught up to the real value of the company. What's going on, in my opinion, and keep in mind, I'm a Tesla bull. I'm one of these crazy optimists that this guy Bloomstran thinks is a crazy. I think that Tesla is badly undervalued. I published a video yesterday or day before yesterday where I talked about why I think Tesla is undervalued. So I think Tesla will actually be worth $15,000 a share before 2024. I think Tesla is worth like $6,000 a share now, and it's trading at $700 a share. So yeah, I think $15,000. I think if Tesla executes everything well through 2023, and the custom Robo-Taxi is out and running in 2024, and they're producing it in quantity, and they're producing, by the end of 2024, if they produced 10 million of those custom Robo-Taxis, yeah, it's going to be worth more than $15,000 a share by the end of 2024. But, you know, everything has to go well. They have to secure battery supply. They're going to need CATL to spool up iron phosphate battery production, or others to spool up iron phosphate. For those who don't get it, iron phosphate cells, with nickel-based cells, you have this question about where you're getting all the nickel, because not enough nickel is being mined. But there's tons of iron because there's so much steel in the world. So iron is ample supply, so you can make as much iron phosphate batteries as you want. It's easy to scale up iron phosphate battery production in terms of supply chain. So, and iron phosphate batteries are behind Robo-Taxi. Iron phosphate batteries are behind Megapack. I think iron phosphate batteries are going to be behind the power walls. I think power walls are going to go to iron phosphate. They don't need to be high energy density. And they're low cost per kilowatt hour, and that's the big advantage of those. Thoughts on Tesla rolling out solid-state batteries next year? Great question. Thank you for asking that question. I think that is fiction. I think solid-state batteries in general are a fantasy. Solid-state battery, I mean, they're going to happen eventually, but the question with batteries, Tesla has passed a point with batteries. For most of the applications that matter, for most of the things that go on, the energy density in iron phosphate cells with 4680 cells and structural pack, the energy density is enough to accomplish most of the things that most vehicles will need to do. We won't need high nickel. This Tesla Semi needs high nickel cells. Some applications for Cybertruck need high nickel cells. Roadster and Plaid Model S need high nickel cells for those, but those are small volume things. Iron phosphate is lower cost per kilowatt hour, and that's the key driver. So when you go to solid state batteries, the question isn't how much energy density will they have. The question is, what will the cost per kilowatt hour be of solid state batteries? And I have yet to see the case that solid state batteries will have lower cost per kilowatt hour. You've got to come up with a prototype. You've got to come up with the chemistry that works. You've got to put it in a prototype. You've got to build a pilot. You got to build that bench scale. You got to be able to make it in some small volume. Then you got to build a pilot line where you're producing it in some significant volume. Then you got to manufacture it at scale. And all these things are steps along the way that take time and effort. Warren, you really believe Tesla to be worth $100 trillion by 2030? So CM, that is my ridiculous optimist bull case scenario. If Tesla does what I think they should do, which is go all in on Robo-Taxi, produce a massive volume of Robo-Taxis, and keep them and run them in its own Robo-Taxi network. And that assumes that government doesn't get in the way, which is a mighty big assumption. And if it does everything that I'm saying there, I think it could be worth more than $100 trillion by 2030. But I think when I make my own estimates of what I think the real value is today and so on and so forth, I'll say if it's only 10 trillion by 2030, that ain't bad. I think it's going to be more than 10 trillion. I think it might be 20, 30, 40 trillion. Question from Briel. Are you just pumping and then dumping? Briel, I started buying Tesla stock in 2016. I have been buying Tesla. I haven't bought any in a couple months. I think I'm pretty much topped out on how much I'm willing to. It's over 80% of my IRA is Tesla stock, and then I manage several family accounts, and two of those accounts, the two next largest accounts, are about 50% Tesla stock, and they're not mine. They're not in my name. So they're in a family member's name. So I don't feel comfortable going beyond that, but I have not sold a share, and I do not intend to sell a share for 10 years. Okay. I mean, I suppose if Tesla stock went to $10,000 a share next year, I might sell a little because I'd be really, really rich at that point, and I might as well enjoy some of it. But I wouldn't sell a lot because I think it's going to keep growing. For Robo-Taxi, we need Tesla to make the snake chargers. Snake charger's easy. That won't be difficult. It's large-scale production of metal materials. Do we see the spikes now in S&P? I don't know about spikes. I don't think S&P does the spikes in the same way. Tempted to buy a Model 3 or Model Y out of Berlin. My heart is set on a 4680 structural pack. I believe that the Texas Gigafactory, Giga Texas, will be producing both Model Y and Model 3 with structural. They will skip right to structural pack in Giga Texas. So by the end of 2021, I think you might see a Model Y coming out of Giga Texas with a structural pack and the 4680 cells. Your numbers include vehicle owners who own trucks. People where I live love their low-cost trucks for work. I do not see a $67,000 Cybertruck unless... So the low-end Cybertruck is $40,000 without full self-driving. I think that everything goes to Robo-Taxi network. Multi-layered battery pack and chassis to increase Tesla range. I don't think that's necessary. I'm not sure what you mean, Sam USA. Dick Masterson, $100 trillion is more than the total market cap. LOL. Okay, well, that's, Tesla's a global company, not just an American company, and the total market cap of the world is going to grow. As a Vietnam panic, I gave penicillin to treat my patient for VD. I don't know what that's about. ICE companies make about 5% profits if they lose 10% share to Tesla. Yes, exactly, as Centaurian. The ICE companies are going to die. They have, I think Volkswagen has something like $200 billion in debt. If they don't generate enough revenue, they don't increase sales of cars, they can't pay off their debt and they die. Oh, that's Sean McNulty. How much free float is there left? S&P and index funds, Elon board members, and the big unknown investors like us, we're just not selling. That is one of my points, Sean. Elon owns 20% of the company, roughly. Larry Ellison owns another percent. The index funds now own, I think, or will by the end of the time they acquire everything, they're going to own about 13% of the company. Some board members do sell. So I don't think that's, some board members sell a little. But I think that a large percentage of the float is held by people who aren't selling. And then, one of the things people don't talk about is people say, well, people are going to rush to sell. Well, what we often see with things like this, the tulip bulb buyers, the people who see a stock growing and want to get in on it, I don't think they started buying yet. I think we may see an increase in demand for Tesla stock, not a decrease. Elon said they will make 250 gigawatt hours in Berlin. Where is the rest to reach 6 terawatt hours by 2030? I don't know where you got the 250 gigawatt hours. I think they're going to be, the plan right now is for 20 gigawatt hour lines. And I think the plan is to, each battery factory could conceivably hold 50 of those lines for a terawatt hour. They literally think they could do 1 terawatt hour of batteries in a building that's not much larger than Giga Nevada. I forget what the size was. If you watch Battery Day, I think there's a slide on the Battery Day slide deck that covers that. I could probably pull it up, but it would take me too long. Do your models take into account robo-semi trucks? Walmart and others can save a lot of money. Focus investing, my models are oversimplified, and I think it does take into account robo-semi trucks, but I guess I'm not sure what you mean. My 40K in 2030 video that's done really well, that does take into account what happens if Tesla batteries go into semi. It doesn't take into account what they're going to charge. This is a question I don't know. What are they going to charge for full self-driving in Tesla semi? Is it going to be included? Are they going to charge extra for it? And is it going to cost more than a regular car? That's a good question I don't know the answer to. Cormac McKay Dublin. Tesla is the only company that has realized car ownership and car finance business model is finished. While all other OEMs are trying to electrify, Tesla has moved on to shared mobility autonomous business model. Absolutely, Cormac. That is what I think is the future. Feliciano, what do you think about FSD subscription? Elon just tweeted today or yesterday that they are going to introduce FSD subscription. I guess it's a particularly important thing for people who are leasing their vehicle, that they want to be able to subscribe temporarily. I think in the long run, FSD subscription is not going to matter. I think Robo-Taxi is going to take over everything, but we'll see. Any chance that snake chargers might be integrated into Robo-Taxis, that Teslas never need to stop at a charging station? I have a vision. Let me just talk about this for a second. I have a vision for how Robo-Taxi charging is going to work. And basically my vision is that you have these plazas that are designed for Robo-Taxis, and the Robo-Taxis pull in, and it's probably a series of chargers where you got two lanes with chargers in the middle, kind of like a gas station now, but there's chargers, and the vehicles pull up, and the snake charger comes out, or whatever robotic system comes out to charge the vehicles. And there are some human attendants who walk around and make sure the cars are clean and the cars aren't damaged. They just check them out and make sure everything's okay. And the vehicles pull in, they charge for 20, 30 minutes, and they pull out. And they probably pull in a group. Like all 4 vehicles pull in at once. Let's say there's 4 chargers, in a line. And there's charger here, charger here, charger here, charger here. 8 vehicles come up. Or 4 vehicles come up on one side. And they all charge for 30 minutes at the same time. And when 30 minutes is up, all 4 of them shoot out. And the next 4 come in. And the network optimizes. The Robo-Taxis are out driving wherever they're driving. And when the network sees that these 4 vehicles need to be charged, it sends them as a group to head into the charger, targeting when the group before them is going to leave. So it makes the use of the charger network very efficient. And then you have, it could be, 8 in a line, whatever, 4 in a line. And it just makes the flow and it's one way, and they just go through, they charge, and they go back out, and they go pick up more rides. That's a very efficient way to run things. And I think we'll see maybe it may be better than what I've come up with, but I think that's a really efficient way of doing it. Okay. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Giga UK? I think Giga UK is going to happen. I know that the UK, there's some part of the UK that's soliciting Tesla for it. I have a video where I talk about, I think the next factories might be, and I think the UK is likely. When will Tesla surpass $1,000? I don't make short-term predictions. Where do you see Tesla in 2030? I just made a video where I see where Tesla is in 2030. Check out my recent video. I've got a few videos about where I think Tesla's going in 2030. I have different models. There's different ways of thinking about it. I don't think induction charging is necessary. I suppose it's possible, but I don't think it's necessary. In-road chargers. I just don't think the in-road charge. I think it's that here. Let me just go through this calculation where I see Robo-Taxis going. Okay. I'm planning in my head, I'm going to make a video, a day in life of a Robo-Taxi. So let's say this. Let's say there's very little people transportation from midnight to 6 a.m. Maybe there's some cargo being transported from midnight to 6 a.m., but the vast majority of Robo-Taxis are essentially off the road from midnight to 6 a.m. I'm making up my numbers, but ballpark midnight to 6 a.m., most of them are not busy anymore because most people have gone to bed. So, what was the question again? Shoot. So the typical vehicle starts between midnight and 6 a.m. All the vehicles get charged up to maximum. They get charged up to full. They're lithium iron phosphate cells, so they can charge to full capacity, and they can discharge to 0 capacity if they need to, and it doesn't affect their the battery life. With nickel-based cells, if you charge to maximum and discharge to 0, and you fast charge, it affects vehicle battery life, but it doesn't affect LFP the same way. So Robo-Taxis are LFP. They can charge to full. They can discharge to 0. So the vehicle goes out at 6 in the morning and starts picking up rides. I'm saying 6 in the morning. Could be 5:30, could be 6:30, whatever. Different vehicles go out at different times. But ballpark 6 o'clock, the typical Robo-Taxi goes out, starts picking up rides. It has a 200-mile pack. I know this freaks people out. I think the typical urban Robo-Taxi will not need more than a 200-mile pack. I'm going to explain why in a minute. So from 6 a.m. till somewhere in the early afternoon, could be noon, could be 2 o'clock, could be 4 o'clock, the vehicle runs about 150 miles. 180 miles perhaps. It still hasn't gotten to the 200-mile range. At some point, the network calls for it to come in and charge. Charging takes 15 minutes. I think 15 minutes or 30 minutes. As soon as it's done charging, and it's done efficiently like I described before, fleet of 4 come in, they charge, fleet of 4 go out, the next 4 come in, it's done efficiently, so it only takes a half hour or less. It goes back out and it drives the rest of the day till midnight. So you have 6 a.m. to midnight. That's 18 hours, and you took a half hour out. Okay? I think that's a 3% time loss. By taking the half hour out, I think you're losing 3% of the time. And I think that makes sense as a trade-off. You're able to produce more robo-taxis if you only use 200-mile packs. Then if every vehicle has a 300-mile pack, you're able to produce 50% less vehicles. A third less vehicles? I don't have the math on that right. At only a 3% cost and time for each vehicle. So I think that makes more sense. I think that's the way it's going to go, and I think it's going to be fantastic. That's my vision that's my short version of a day in life of Robo-Taxi. It's going to get more complicated than that. Let's see. What about drafting? I do think that Tesla, once the robo-taxis become ubiquitous, as in there's no human drivers on the road, I think you will see that robo-taxis will draft each other. You will also see that they will be able to squeeze more vehicles horizontally. I have a video. If you go on YouTube and you look at my Podcar robo-taxi video, single passenger robo-taxis, they're only 3 feet wide and they carry 1 passenger each. You'll be able to squeeze a lot more cars on the road because they'll be able to follow each other closely and they'll use less lane. Even with current cars, the lane lines won't matter anymore. They'll be able to squeeze closer together. So a road that has 3 lanes will be able to fit 4 cars wide. So it's not just both of those things come into play. And then don't forget the tunnels. The Boring Company tunnels will help too. Are emerging markets important for Tesla? Matthias, great question. I believe that emerging markets will see a Tesla minibus first. That the average person in a poor country can't afford to ride in a robo-taxi yet, and even when robo-taxi gets really cheap, that will still be expensive for the average person in a poor country. But the Tesla minibus is going to get the cost down so cheap it will be unbelievable. You know, figure if a Tesla Model 3 is going to get down to around 10 cents a mile, and the Tesla Compact is going to get down to a nickel a mile cost of operation. Let's say the minibus is 20 cents a mile. It's twice as expensive to operate as the Model 3. But it has 20 seats. If you fill it, then each passenger only costs a penny a mile. And you charge 2 cents a mile or 3 cents a mile, and you make a huge profit, and everybody's happy. Cormac, I'm campaigning for a Tesla Gigafactory, UK, Ireland, on the northern... You know, Ireland would make a lot of sense because of Ireland's tax breaks. I'm not sure whether you're talking about Ireland or Northern Ireland. I just read an article. Cormac, I think if you look it up, and again, thank you for your support. I think if you look it up, I think there was a recent article about a community in the UK that is soliciting Tesla to build a factory there. I'm trying to remember I think it's a community that used to have a lot of manufacturing, and I think the UK makes a lot of sense. Number one, the UK is a fairly big car market on its own, and number two, if they make them right-hand drive, which, you know, they drive on the other side of the road in the UK than they do in the United States and continental Europe, then I think they could export the right-hand drive vehicles to the Caribbean. They could export the right-hand drive vehicles to other countries that are right-hand drive, along with supplying the UK market. Is it too late to invest in Tesla? I don't give personal investment advice. I'm not selling, I'll say that. Will we see Tesla in Russia or Africa and South America? I think you're going to see the money bus. South America is definitely going to see Teslas. Do I think SpaceX will merge with Tesla? No, not a chance. I think all of Elon's other companies will stay separate from Tesla. There's no reason for Tesla to acquire them. He doesn't like publicly traded companies. If he could take Tesla private, he would. I think I addressed competition earlier in this video. There is no competition. I'm not even going to go there and again. Let's see. You agree with Kathy Wood about the price target of $1,400 by the end of 20? I don't set short-term price targets. I think $1,400 is cheap by the end of 2024. I think Tesla should be. I think Tesla's worth $6,000 a share now. So, but I think that if Tesla executes well, by the end of 2024, there's going to be a lot of gigafactories. There's going to be a lot of robo-taxis on the road. Tesla's going to be making insane money. It's going to be crazy. Jim talks about the minibus. The other thing I want to say about the minibus is the long routes. Exactly, the long routes between cities, not just for poor countries. What about rich people? So I live in South Florida. I want to talk about this. I love this minibus concept. I want to talk about this. Thanks for Jim for mentioning it again. So I live in South Florida. I live in Boca Raton, Florida, near Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Miami. A lot of people in South Florida like to go to Disney, which is in Orlando, which is about a 3-hour drive from here for regular human drivers and regular cars and regular traffic. Personally, I'm not that big on Disney. I like Universal Studios a little better, but generally I don't like walking around on concrete all day waiting in lines. That's not me. The rides are okay. The Harry Potter area in Universal Studios is particularly fun. I kind of want to see the Star Wars ride in Disney, but overall, I got better things to do with my time. But a lot of people around here like going there. So there's a huge volume of people who are going to Orlando from South Florida. Now, right now, if I drive my car, figure 50 cents a mile, ballpark, I'm using a simple number, 300 miles each way. No, I think it's 300 miles round trip. So it's 300 miles, cost me $150 just to drive the car there. Then I got to stay in a hotel. Okay, and the hotel costs money. Now imagine we go to a world where the Boring Company builds a tunnel from South Florida to Orlando, and the tunnel comes out at Disney Springs or Downtown Disney or Universal Studios. There's probably more than one tunnel, but more than one exit to the tunnel. And let's say the car goes 120 miles an hour in the tunnel. So it cuts my trip in half in time, right? Right now it's a 3-hour ride. It becomes 150. It becomes an hour and a half ride. And it's a Tesla minibus, and it fits 20 passengers. And the cost of operating the vehicle is 20 cents a mile. So the 300 miles round trip, it costs $15 for the vehicle. Divide that by the passengers, you get 75 cents a passenger is the cost of operating the vehicle. Charge people $5 round trip. $10. I would pay $10 round trip in a heartbeat. Almost all of that is profit for Tesla. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And now you take it next step further and you say, you know what, they're going to do Hyperloop. And Hyperloop's going to get me there in 20 minutes. If you can get me there in 20 minutes and I can get home in 20 minutes and it's going to cost me $20, I don't need a hotel anymore. How much money did you save me? Right? I was going to spend $150 on my vehicle and $100 or $200 a night on hotel. Now I sleep in my own bed. I wake up in the morning. I hop in the Hyperloop. I get there. Maybe the total trip time is a half hour between the Robo-Taxi taking me to the Hyperloop and the Hyperloop getting me there and dropping me off at Disney Springs. Half hour each way. I don't need a hotel anymore. When the night's over, I take the Hyperloop home. And I spent $20 round trip. And and now one of the questions people ask me is what else will grow in the future? Robo-Taxi is going to destroy all these jobs, right? All these driver jobs are going to be destroyed. What else will grow in the economy? I think destinations like Disney, Universal Studios, beach communities, places people want to go to enjoy themselves. It's going to be so much cheaper to get where you want to go. It's going to be so much more convenient. It's going to be so fast that destination malls, anything that attracts people that people go out of their way to go to is going to be all of a sudden be easy to get to. And if I were Disney, I would be building like crazy. If I were Universal Studios, I would be building like crazy. If you have a beach town, I would be building. If we wouldn't be building hotels though, right? Because the hotels are going to. So there's a trade-off there too. For me, the Hyperloop's a 20-minute ride, and I can get there and back without having to worry about it. It may also encourage travel from people who don't mind spending on a hotel. So I'm not sure what happens to the hotels, because if all of a sudden, people decide to fly in from Europe on the SpaceX point-to-point ship that lands in Canaveral and they hop in a Hyperloop to get to Disney from Canaveral, well, okay. You might get a lot of foreign tourists who are going to stay a couple nights and then fly back on the point-to-point, and they saved a ton of money too. So I think destinations, Vegas is going to boom. Orlando is going to boom. If you want to buy real estate, it's just my opinion, and I'm not a professional investment advisor. I think investing in Orlando real estate makes a lot of sense right now. And even Tampa, because although Tampa's half hour away, once the loops are in, it's going to be a really short ride from Tampa. Anything near Orlando and Canaveral is not that far from Orlando either. All right, let's see. You can send your car off to be an Uber Eats delivery driver. I think Robo-Taxi is going to destroy Uber Eats and DoorDash, because, the restaurant, you can just send your Robo-Taxi to the restaurant and say, hey, my car's out front, put the food in the seat, and my car will come back and bring it back to me. Or you just send a Robo-Taxi to go get your food. And the restaurant just puts the food in the Robo-Taxi, and the Robo-Taxi drives over to your house. And maybe it takes four passengers' food. Jim Whitehead, $10 times maybe 5 passengers on average is $50 round trip. The bus electricity cost is maybe 3 cents a mile, or about $10 a round trip. Double this for Amortized, so profit margin about 50%. Yeah, but you might charge $20 a passenger. They might not blink at it. Who knows you're going to be able to charge so much money early. Elon did not abandon the Hyperloop idea. I don't know who posted that. That's wrong. Elon just talked about Hyperloop just the other day. in that German conversation. He said, it's just a vacuum tube with a high-speed electric, with a supersonic electric vehicle, like that was nothing. Do you feel Tesla will correct in short term to 500 something? JT, I do not make short-term stock price predictions other than that stock price will fluctuate. It will go up, it will go down. Could go to 1,000, could go to 400. If it goes to 400, I'm buying more. Amazon took over Uber's autonomous unit. Don't be surprised to find a team up later on. So what? You got to deliver. You can acquire whatever you got to acquire. You got to make it work. When will there be more charging stations than Starbucks locations? There already are. There are already more charging stations than Starbucks locations. You have multiple charging stations in your house. Every outlet is a charging station. Every outlet everywhere in the world. Don't forget the thousands of Disney employees that need to get there daily. Yeah, no, I think Disney is going to be all in on Loops. Loops Herd Hotel. I think Loops Herd Hotels for local travelers, people are close, but I don't think Loops Herd Hotels if people come from farther because they can. Expect road taxing to rise significantly and fuel costs recede. I'm sure government is going to try to find a way. This is one of those things. Nat Say says, expect road taxing to rise significantly and fuel costs recede. Government won't be able to stop itself trying to equalize the costs and generate income at the same time, especially to recoup fuel taxes. Look, this is our job. If you are an American voter, it is your job to harass your politicians to not get in the way of robo-taxis and electric vehicles. And Florida law favors and prevents local governments from taxing robo-taxis and electric vehicles. So we're already partway there. But you have to fight for this. Listen, I'm not a big climate change guy. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just not I don't worry about it. If you are a climate change believer, you want EVs to dominate. And then you do not want them taxed. Let's just stop bombing other countries, bring all the troops home and stop spending all that money, and then we can afford to do other stuff. And if a Boring Company is building its own tunnels, then why are the vehicles in the Boring Company tunnels paying for roads they're not using? Hyperloop, Boring Company on Mars. Let's see. I hope it comes down. Look, if you think it's going to go up to 15,000, then the difference between 700 and 500 doesn't matter. If you want, this is not investment advice, but if you think it's going to go up to 15,000, then buy at 700. Don't wait for 500 because 500 may never come. Yeah, the Boring Company is just a small hobby. He said, he just said that. He said it's just a small company just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. 1428. Let's see. Cybertrucks look built for Mars. Cybertrucks are fantastic. I'm waiting on my Cybertruck. Tesla hydrofoil from Texas to Florida. I don't think hydrofoil is relevant. Starlink is cool. How long before Tesla announces more? Great question, Adam Welts. How long before Tesla announces more factories after Austin and Berlin? I think they're going to finish Giga Shanghai, as in Model Y is pretty much up and running. The Model Y factories, so they're pretty much done with Giga Shanghai. I think they want to get Berlin started, and then that's really hard to say. I mean, I don't think Tesla's necessarily in a hurry. I think when they have a deal somewhere, there's definitely some ideas that they're negotiating with Indonesia that may be for a battery factory rather than a vehicle factory. I think that we may see, there's some talk about the UK. I predict Japan is coming as a gigafactory because they've got a big-time Japanese insider on the board. I made a video about this. If you check, I have a video. If you go back in my channel, if you just search my channel for gigafactory, you'll find the video I made, or search my channel for Japan, you'll find the video I made where I think Japan is it. Let's see. Tesla car and battery factory in India. That's in my video. I don't think India's happening anytime soon. The Indian regulatory market is terrible. Somebody asked something about, let me see if I can find that. What happens if there are unknown unknowns that prevent the camera-based system to never get to level 5? Do you view this as a legitimate risk? I don't view it as it's a risk. I don't think it's a big risk. I think that the practical reality is that we drive with 2 cameras and Teslas have 8 cameras, and they have radar and they have sonar. We don't have either of those. I think it's very, very close. But even if it doesn't, one of my models is $40,000 share price without Robo-Taxi at all. Let's see. Tim Whitehead just... The Boring tunnels loops are not hyperloops. Elon talked about, just like last week or 2 weeks ago, Elon talked about that they will do hyperloops in Boring Company tunnels. They just have... Boring Company tunnels are made airtight. so they're easy to make vacuum tunnels. Let's see. If there's no money coming in from fuel tax, how do we keep the roads in a decent state of repair? We could use other taxes. Stop bombing other countries and use that money to fix the roads. Stop using excuses to tax EVs and interfere with making the world a better place. Will I buy Starlink? If you go back on my channel, I have plans for a cyber cabin. I bought a piece of land in the middle of nowhere, and I'm hoping to put a Starlink on it. How long will it take Tesla to perfect the manufacturing integration of the 4680 cells? It's never perfect. They are going to have 4680 cells running in the Model Y by the end of this year, and it will be a step, and then it's going to be continuous improvement like everything else. Yes, England is begging for a factory. Hyperloop does not need FSD to work as tunnels or controlled environments. Well, it needs autonomous vehicles, but it doesn't need all the advanced features of FSD. Camera fogging, I don't think it's a big deal. Everybody talks about that. That's nothing. What about Toyota solid state? I addressed Toyota solid state earlier. I think it's nothing. Can't understand Tesla insurance when Robo-Taxi. Why insurance? Yes, I don't believe Tesla insurance matters. I think it's a short-term thing that helps sell the cars, and they'll make some money off it. But in the long run, Robo-Taxi will be so safe that insurance will vanish, become unnecessary and vanish. People drive with one camera if they only have one eye. Japan hates foreign companies. It will never happen. McDonald's is the largest restaurant chain in Japan. Watashi wa Nihon ni 1年間住んでました. McDonald's is the largest restaurant chain, and Coca-Cola is the largest soft drink provider in Japan. Japanese people love foreign companies. Don't assume you understand Japan if you haven't been there. It's hard to break into the market, but Elon and Tesla have a lot of connections with high-powered Japanese people. I think it's going to happen. I could be wrong. I think it's going to happen. Somebody keeps asking about Toyota solid state. I already addressed it. Solid state is fluff. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at scale anytime soon. Let's see. What about Chris Baker? I'm silencing Chris Baker. You've asked the same question 10 times. I've answered it a bunch. Not what I wanted. Put user in a timeout. Chris Baker, you're in a timeout. Stop asking the same question over and over again. It's annoying. I'm trying to read all the questions. Chances Tesla will sell semi-skateboard to RV companies. I think the Tesla Cybervan, if you go back to my channel on Cybervan Minibus, I think Tesla will make an RV. India, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I mean, I think they're going to sell cars in India, but the regulations are just brutal. One article says Tesla just brought 17,000 experimental new cells to Germany for test purposes. I believe it. I think they're bringing the vehicles from the batteries from Fremont over to Berlin. But in the long run, Berlin's going to make its own batteries. When are we expecting to see semi-trucks? End of this year. End of 2021, I mean. Can Robo-Taxi drive through snow weather? Yes. If humans can drive through it, Robo-Taxi can drive through it. No carpet. There's protectionism in Japan. There's protectionism everywhere. Isn't a Japanese billionaire going to the moon in a SpaceX Starship? Yes. You've got Aaron points out Hiromichi Mizuno. Heavy Pizza points out the Japanese billionaire Yusaka Miyazawa, Yusak 2020. And then there's the Noguchi, who's flying on, who's currently at the space station thanks to SpaceX. Tesla has a lot of connections in Japan. I think Japan's happening. By the way, reminder, the shirt, Machine That Builds the Machine, merch below. Check out the links. Please support this channel on Patreon or join the channel. When do you think Elon will become a trillionaire? When Tesla's worth $5 trillion? Well, no. When Tesla's worth $3 or $4 trillion, because he also owns a lot of SpaceX and he owns a lot of Boring Company and Neuralink. No, look, there is car protectionism in Japan. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It matters. It's going to be hard, but if they build the cars there, then you get past the protectionism. And just be clear on this. If you go back and watch my video, I talk about this. Tesla has a long-standing partnership with Panasonic. Panasonic is a Japanese company. I see Tesla making a deal with the Osaka area where Panasonic, I think it's Osaka or Nagoya, making a deal with Panasonic where Panasonic builds a Terafactory to build batteries and Tesla builds a Gigafactory to build vehicles in Japan. And Japan is the third or fourth largest car market in the world. And they build Robo-Taxis or they build Model 3s, Model Ys, whatever, in Japan. They build a huge volume of vehicles in Japan. They take Japan off their need for foreign oil. Toyota's dead anyway. This is the thing. Toyota's dead one way or the other. The Japanese ICE companies are dead anyway. You either want and the people on Tesla's board and the people that Elon is connecting with, they get it. They see it. They see that future. If you are running the Japanese government and you want there to be jobs in your country, you want the Panasonic Terafactory. You want the Tesla Gigafactory. Putting those factories in creates jobs and provides great transportation for Japanese people. I think you're going to see boring company tunnels in Japan, too. Japan loves tunnels. Califer asks about Japan. Musk paying the 100 million euros for the bond in Berlin. I don't know. Who cares? That's a small story. No big deal. Warren, why are you not into climate change? That is not a conversation for this video. I'm opposed. I don't like pollution. I think internal combustion. I'll just say this. Internal combustion engine cars pollute in many ways. Diesel engine cars in particular pollute in many ways. I want to reduce pollution. I want to reduce pollution from internal combustion engines. Whether that pollution is carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur, whatever. Let's get rid of it all. Elon owns 20% of Tesla, approximately. Yeah, whatever. Let's see. When do you think Giga Berlin will build the first Model Y? I think it's third quarter, fourth quarter, 2021 is my guess. Will Tesla buy other car manufacturers? God, I hope not. I don't see any reason for Tesla to buy other car manufacturers. That's like a terrible use of capital. Just answered that question. 1.6 million cars in 2021. I'm a very big optimist on 2021. So, what's his name? Miguel Ferruello asks whether it's possible 1.6 million cars in 2021. It's possible. I think it's unlikely. So I think Fremont, Tesla's factory in Fremont, could produce 500 or 550 million cars in 2021. I think Giga Shanghai could produce 450 million cars in 2021, and that gets you to a million. Giga Berlin, I think, could produce 100,000 cars in 2021, Model Ys in Berlin. Giga Texas, I think, will produce some Cybertrucks and some Model Ys in 2021. So I see Tesla producing over a million. A lot of more responsible believers think Tesla's going to produce 850,000 in 2021. I do think a million's possible. I don't see how they could get to 1.6 million. I don't think the batteries are there for 1.6 million. I don't think there's enough batteries to be able to do it. Would love to buy some merch, but please tell me your shirts are not made in China. It's an interesting question. I don't know where they're made. I don't know why it bothers you where they're made, but let's see. Shirts say Hanes on them. Made in the Dominican Republic. This shirt, the Starship shirt, is made in the Dominican Republic. So I don't know where the shirts are made. But the Starship shirt, I don't know where all the shirts are made. I don't know where the one I'm wearing is made, but the Starship shirt was made in the Dominican Republic, to answer that question. And I don't mind things that are made in China, by the way. I don't have a problem with China. I don't know why people have such a problem with China. Oh, thank you, Cav. Yes, I drink Pellegrino, Perrier, Evian, and Gatorade. I drink all kinds of stuff. Coca-Cola, too. Let's see. Taking the anti-pollution stance is the only way to get past the right-wing legislation. I don't know what right-wing legislation block you're talking about. I think that there's a lot of special interest legislation that will could interfere with Tesla. We need to fight against special interests. Great question here. Why does Elon want to make electric planes? What is the point, or is it just a show? I think Elon thinks the electric plane idea is cool. I don't think he's going to make electric planes. I think he's poo-pooed that multiple times. So I think he thinks it's a cool idea. I think that Hyperloop, basically, between Hyperloop and Starship point-to-point, I think electric planes become irrelevant. Eric asks, will the S and X get the 4680s when they resume production? I think it's possible. They're shut down. For those who don't know, that Tesla has shut down the S and X lines, or they're shutting down the S and X lines for about 18 days. I think there's a strong chance that they are retooling the Model S and Model X lines for structural battery pack. Here's what we know. We know that Tesla is planning to sell the Model S Plaid by the end of 2021. That's the $140,000 ridiculously fast Model S with tri-motor drivetrain. And we know that it's going to have structural pack. So at some point in the next year, Tesla needs to convert the Model S and Model X lines over to structural battery pack. We know that they've been producing 4680 high nickel cells in Fremont. We know they're producing them at some scale already. And we know that Model S and Model X are not high volume vehicles. So it would make sense to me that if Tesla was to produce, let's say, 10 gigawatt hours of high nickel cells in 2021, that would be enough for 100,000 Model S's and Model X's, and they don't make that many of them. So I could see 50,000 Model S's and Model X's next year with high nickel cells. Oh, Jeff Sturgis, thank you for your support, Jeff. So I do think there's a chance that this break is to install the Giga casting machines. I just saw an article about the casting machines, the Giga casting machines. I think those Giga casting machines might be used to produce the front and rear piece of the chassis of Model S and Model X to go along with structural battery pack, and they will use 4680 cells, initially high nickel cells. I think in the long run, the Model S and Model X will use nickel manganese 4680 cells. The Plaid will use the high nickel cells. When will wireless charging outpace conventional I don't think wireless charging is happening. I don't want to say it's not going to happen, but I don't see the advantage of it. I think that wired charging is fine. Model 2, Tesla Compact. I have a whole video about Tesla Compact and a shirt. This is the machine that builds the machine shirt, but there's a Tesla Compact shirt on the page, on the in the store, the Critical Enthusiasm store on Teespring. Link in the description below. How much do you think will be added to shares on Monday? I don't make short-term predictions. I have no idea. The market will fluctuate. Stock prices are going to go up or down. Warren, going to up and down. Is Elon going to be expanding more in Nevada, Fernley area? So much land. I don't think Tesla's going to be expanding. I think there's room to expand in Nevada, but I don't know. Maybe for building batteries, because they're going to get the lithium. I actually think they might build a battery factory in Tulsa. When you look at the Battery Day map, they showed a factory, and it looked like it was near Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I think they liked Tulsa, so I could see it happening. And one of the theories, by the way, politically is, if you build enough operations in enough congressional districts in enough states, you get enough congressmen and senators who are worried about taking care of you, that you get a lot of political clout. Do I see another stock split coming for Tesla? Probably, but I don't care about stock splits. I think stock splits are unimportant and uninteresting, but a lot of people care about them. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. If you have 100 shares, if you have one share that's worth $100 and it splits to 10 shares worth $10, you still have $100. Why do splits matter? I don't think they matter. Elon seems to think they matter, but I don't. What do you think is the next industry disrupted by innovation like Tesla did to the car industry, energy? So Eddie, great question. I have a video. If you search my channel for 10 industries, I have a video where I talk about 10 industries that are going to be disrupted by Tesla, Robo-Taxi, Starship point-to-point. I'm a personal injury lawyer and criminal defense lawyer, and I think most of my business is going to be wiped out. There's going to be no more DUIs. There's going to be no more traffic tickets. So much. There's going to be no more car accidents. So much is going to be wiped out. Car insurance is going to be wiped out. What company or Matt Copley? What company or competitor black swan event do you fear most would materially affect your price predictions? Government. Economic collapse. I don't see any company or competitor black swan event. I see the black swan event I see is currency collapse, fiscal collapse of the U.S. and other governments, massive economic collapse. I just bought a new rifle. I believe in stock. I don't believe only in owning Tesla stock. I own food, water, and ammo. Just ordered a new rifle. Should be arriving on Monday. 6.5 Creedmoor if anybody cares. Hard to get ammo right now. Fortunately, I have a lot of other ammo. Why build aircraft? Yeah, I don't think aircraft makes sense. Mathawana. I love Mathawana. That's hilarious. I barely drink. I did have a beer yesterday for the first time in a long time, but I hardly ever drink, and I don't use any drugs. I won't even use Tylenol, hardly ever. Are you a fan of the pick and shovel play ChargePoint? I don't know about ChargePoint, Mac. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing that's a charging business. Bob, the stock split, Elon's reason for the stock split is to make it easier for retail investors to buy stock. I think there's some value in that. I don't think it's very important, but yeah, Nicholas, correct. I think it's for retail investors. Hector, thank you so much for your contribution. Remember, Tesla is selling car insurance. Tesla is selling car insurance, but as robo-taxis, as self-driving becomes dominant, accidents are going to vanish and insurance will become less important. Yes, I know they're buying additional Giga. I just read an article in
know if it was Clean Technica or one of these websites just did an article. I bought an AR-10 in 6.5 Creedmoor from Palmetto State Armory, Romu. An AR-10 and AR-10, it's less than an AR-15. See, let's see. It only has 10-round magazines. That'll make people feel happy. The 6.5 Creedmoor is a very high velocity round. I have this desire. I'm going to take a class in long range shooting, which the people who don't know this shooting. It's a much more challenging to shoot at distances over 100 yards. The farther you go, the harder it is. So a rifle that shoots at high velocity means the bullet doesn't drop as much and it's not affected by wind as much. So I'm getting a rifle for that purpose and ammo for that purpose. Will Apple be a serious EV competitor? No. I think Apple is irrelevant. It's like asking, is Walmart a serious competitor to Amazon? Where's Apple? Where's the Apple car on the road? I don't see it. How long before Tesla gets into the utility energy provider with a giant solar field? I don't know if Tesla's going to do giant solar fields. It would make sense, but I don't know if they're going there. I think they're more likely to collaborate on projects with others and make money off AutoBidder or make money off selling it. I could see them becoming a utility. I think the problem with being an energy provider is you get regulated rates and you don't make that much money in the long haul. Will we see more share splits? I don't talk about share splits. I already did that. Yeah, no. Let's see. It's only a 10. See, it's not as dangerous. Tesla goes to 1,000 by July 4th. I don't make short-term stock price predictions. Magazine count matters less than aiming accuracy. I was just saying it's 10-round magazine to make people feel better. It'll take a 20-round magazine if I buy one. Stock prices. If you're target shooting and you're out at a range, you're shooting a lot of rounds. You want a lot of rounds in your magazine because you don't want to have to keep reloading. Reloading is a pain in the ass if you have to reload different, smaller magazines. Not a big deal, but I need to head out soon. Great discussion, Warren. Thank you, Tom Doyle. Thank you for your support. How about the 1 mile shot over in Iraq? The 6.5 Creedmoor can make a 1.1 mile shot. I'm going for 500 yards in my training. The 6.5 Creedmoor can do 1,000 yards. It can do a mile shot, but I'm not going for that. That's like, how often you make it. Even the 500 yard shot. This is just silly. It's not like it's useful. It's just something I want to do. My current rifle is not going to be good at 500 yards. It could do it, but it's not really good for it. Why the Gigafactory 1 is not finished? I'm not sure what you mean. I think Gigafactory 1 is pretty finished. Are you referring to Giga Nevada, Avery? What people miss about Tesla? Apple car, sniper mentality, one stock, one retirement. Interesting. All right. Let's see. I don't think AR-10s usually go up to 30 rounds. 20 rounds because the bullets, the ammo's bigger. The cylinders that the ammo's in are bigger. ChargePoint has 70% of the charging station market. I don't think that's true. I think Tesla has more than 50% of the charging station market. Maybe they have 70% of the non-Tesla charging station market. Let's see. Apple can't make their own handheld device. Yeah, I wonder if why doesn't Tesla make a smartphone? Why, who knows? Maybe they should make a smartphone. Yeah, 500. Right, the training that I'm going to do is up to 500 yards. Let's see. As a lawyer, you must know that defending yourself in a self-defense, hold your ground scenario is not something most people are ready for emotionally or financially. It's risky to own arms legally. Well, then I've been risky for a while. I've been taking risks for a while. It's risky to not own arms in a violent society, I'll tell you that. So new Teslas will have 50 calibers. I would love to see an attachment to a Cybertruck where you put a 50 caliber deck gun on the back of Cybertruck. I think that would be hilarious. I almost think that I could see militaries buying that from Tesla. Cybertruck, with a 50 cal, like it's like a troop carrier. You could fit 10 people inside the Cybertruck if you squeeze them in, because soldiers don't mind being squeezed in, right? And then you put 50 caliber deck guns on the back of it. That's crazy right there. Why build a factory in Tulsa when Shreveport has a 3.1 million square? They don't want old GM plants. They want new plants. Why Tulsa? Because Tesla had extensive negotiations with Tulsa, and they had really positive feelings for Tulsa, and they suggested that there might be something coming in Tulsa. Any news on the Tesla Roadster? I think Roadster's coming early 2022, maybe 2021. I think Roadster's close. My theory on Roadster is that it's going to be a completely different chassis design, that they're going to use if you go out and you look, there was a video I saw where somebody talked about using AI to do 3D printing and to come up with like an optimal chassis. And Elon said 3D printing doesn't work for volume production, but Roadster's not high volume production. So I think it would work. Let's see. Most people miss that Tesla never paid for an advertisement. Yep. Asteroid mining is next. I did a video about asteroid mining. I think asteroid mining makes sense if you're going to do stuff in space. It doesn't make sense for bringing stuff to Earth. There's plenty of stuff on Earth to mine, and it costs a lot less to mine on Earth than it does in space. Cybertruck technicals. I have a couple of videos about what I think is going to happen. I think Cybertruck's going to be a lot lighter than people think. Tesla smartphone. I don't know about charges itself with solar. It's going to. I think the funny part about a Tesla smartphone is when they put the 4680 cell in here. You know, that's going to be. You know, will the Tesla smartphone look like this with the 4680 cell? That's going to be fun to see. It'll last for a month, but it's a little awkward. Dubai police put in a large order for Cybertruck. Interesting. Elon will get us on Mars by 2030 with a man and a Tesla Mars rover. Elon is going to get us on Mars by 2026 with Cybertrucks. He just said this, that he now thinks they're going to be able to do a cargo mission to Mars in 2022, maybe 2024, and 2 years after that will be the human mission. Whenever they do the cargo mission, 2 years later is the cargo mission. It's going to be awesome. 2026, maybe 2024. The flight arrives 2025 or 2027. What's your production guess for 2020? I think it's going to be over 500K, but that's really hard. It's really hard to do these short-term predictions. I think they stopped. One of the reasons they closed the Model S and Model X line was to shovel everything they could into Model 3 and Model Y production because that's higher volume, just to get over the 500,000 mark. Yeah, I think Cybertruck is built to be a Mars vehicle. It certainly makes sense. It's probably easier to make it airtight. What areas has the biggest growth potential in the future? Battery, solar, energy, auto bidder, FSD. In terms of revenue, energy in general, solar and grid storage have huge growth potential. But Robo-Taxi has huge growth potential too. John Check, thank you for your support. That's why you get to USCCA insurance when you carry to the goofy guy who doesn't like guns. Not sure what you mean by that, but USCCA insurance, for those who don't know, is a insurance company for people who carry concealed weapons. Tesla phone 4060 cell with an OLED screen wrapped in it. You know, how do you make a phone with a cylindrical battery? That's what I want to know. If you could you make a phone with a cylindrical battery? That would be like, I feel like that's going to be like an Onion story or maybe I should write it. A joke story about Tesla comes out with a smartphone with a cylindrical cell. I'm aware of NIO's battery swap subscription-based model, Mac. I have a video about NIO. I think that NIO will probably be a somewhat successful EV company, but I don't think that they are. I don't think battery swap makes any sense at all. And I don't see it being a significant competitor for Tesla. I hope they succeed. I hope they grow, but I don't think they're close to Tesla. SpaceX will send 5 starships at a time, maybe 10. Heavy pizza. SpaceX will send 5 starships at a time to Mars. I think they might send more than 5 at a time. Just let us make a smartphone. It's attached to the car. Interesting. Starlink internet cell phone that can call Mars. Ray, I made a video where I talk about how you could create a version of Starlink that orbits the sun to increase bandwidth communication between Earth and Mars. I think that was a really cool video. Not that many people watched it. I think it's really interesting. In 5 years, the same people who doubted Tesla will try and break them up because they're too big. Exactly, Stephen. Stephen Ozer, exactly. That's what's going to happen. When do you think Tesla would pay the first dividends? I don't really care about dividends, but I think when the Robo-Taxi network goes live and they start generating cash, it'll be faster they can spend it, and I think they'll start doing dividends. Or I could see them spinning off the Robo-Taxi division as a separate company. I could see it happening. Did you consider investing in SpaceX before Starlink IPO? You can't invest in SpaceX. I can't invest in SpaceX. I don't know how to get. They're not publicly traded. Pandemic will have lasting effect on public transport. Personal cars would have seen decline. Now public transport will see decline. I'm in Florida and people are going all over the place. I think it depends where you are. Metal 3D print, metal ed printing for Starship. I can't read that, heavy pizza. I'm not sure what you're saying there. I think you might have mistyped 3D printing. Elon says it's hard to do 3D printing in volume, so I don't think that makes sense. Oh, I see it. I don't think 3D printing makes sense for Starship because I think the maybe some parts are 3D printed, but in general, it doesn't work in volume. A Tesla cordless drill would kill the... Interesting. A cordless drill with a 4680 cell. I like it. It seems like Tesla will be the biggest company on Earth, or somebody else come? I think Tesla's going to be the biggest company on Earth. I think Tesla is already the most valuable company on Earth, but the market hasn't valued it the way it should yet. NIO isn't at the same level of Tesla, but as a stock, it could be a nice play. I think NIO is a very highly priced stock for what it is. I don't know that they have the growth path. I don't see the growth path for NIO. I think the Tesla Compact will probably not have a steering wheel. Matt Burns asked this question about, he calls it the Model 2. Elon said it's not the Model 2. Tesla will never make a product that will not help its core mission, except if it's something to troll like Tesla keyless shorts, etc. Yeah. When do you think SpaceX will become public shares? I'm not sure. Oh, good question. Art Vandelay. Miami Heat will get a chip next year. You know, I just watched the Brooklyn Nets play the Celtics. Man, that team looks good. I'm very excited about the Heat, but boy, those Nets look good. The Lakers look good. It's going to be tough to get a chip. We'll see. I'm not... I think Miami Heat could get better, but boy, the Nets and the Lakers are awfully tough to beat. I don't know how to invest in SpaceX. I can't answer that question. Will you invest in Starlink IPO? I'll look at the Starlink IPO when I see it. I would consider investing in the Starlink IPO, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while. And I would do it with other money. I wouldn't do it with Tesla stock. I don't make daily predictions for Tesla stock. Is real estate cheap in Florida right now? No. Florida homes are selling like... It depends on where in Florida, I suppose. Where I live in Florida, there's nearly zero inventory. A lot of people are moving down from... People are always moving down from New York, New Jersey, and Ohio, and Massachusetts. But the volume of people moving accelerated, so there's like no inventory, and prices are up a lot. A lot. My neighborhood prices are up like... My house was worth about $600,000. It's probably worth $700,000 now. Not selling because we'd have to buy somewhere else anyway. And we like our house. Hoping to put a Tesla solar roof on the house in the next year or two. And then I'll never leave. Would you recommend to your best friend at their current post-split price of $695 to put 80% of their IRA into Tesla stock, assuming a 10-year horizon? I do not advise people what to do in terms of stock purchasing. I will tell you that I have 80% of my IRA in Tesla stock. So you can take from that what you will. I'm not going to tell you. I don't know your risk preferences. I don't know what you think of Tesla. I don't know what I can't give you that kind of advice. 25K will be used in Tesla's Robo-Taxi fleet and will not be sold to public. 25K what? The 25K model? I believe it will be Robo-Taxi. Well, I think they might sell some of them, but mostly I think they won't sell them. Barron Partners Fund has SpaceX because if you're a big enough investor, you can get in on things like that. Yeah, Durant looked fantastic, David. He looked amazing. How many blocks? He had like 3 block shots. If you're a basketball fan, this is a good time to be a basketball fan. It's fun to watch basketball right now. Except for James Harden. I can't stand him. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just personally don't like him, and I don't have a good reason for it. CB is clueless. How do you need to invest in SpaceX? I don't know how to invest in... Neuralink will allow you to just imagine going to Disney. Neuralink's... I'm very excited. I have a video about Neuralink. I'm very excited about Neuralink. I have a family history of Alzheimer's. I'm 54 years old. I'm hoping to have Neuralink in my brain within 10 years or so. Certainly 20 years. I want to have Neuralink in my brain to protect me from Alzheimer's. My other 20%, my second largest shareholding is Amazon, and I own some index funds, and I own... Of all the funds, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Spirit Airlines, strangely enough. I sold most of my airline stuff. Maybe I sold Spirit Airlines. I think I had a bunch of airline stocks. I had Honda stock. I sold all of that. What else do I have? Mostly mostly index funds. I'm trying. Facebook. I think I own a little bit of Facebook, and I own some Google. I made a lot of money on Google, actually. I never forgave myself that I didn't buy Google on the IPO. I was a customer, and I should have known. What's the potential of Autobidder? You know, Exception Handler asked a great question. What's the potential? I need to learn more about Autobidder. That's one of the things I don't know enough about, and I need to know. LED Lloyd asks, how many Tesla shares do you have? I always answer this way. I have more than 50 and less than 5,000 shares. More than 50 and less than 5,000. I give you a better range than that, MediaTek. What'll you buy after Cybertruck your cabin if Tesla goes to $10,000 a share? I really haven't. I don't know that I have aspirations for what I'm going to spend the money on. I'll live a comfortable life. I'll take 5% out a year, and you have 10. Let's suppose you had $10 million saved away, which if Tesla goes to $10,000 a share, I'll have in that ballpark anyway. If you had $10 million and you only took out 5% a year, you'd be spending $500,000 a year. I could live comfortably on $500,000 a year. Let's see. SpaceX takes private investors, minimum $5 million. I don't know how that works. Qualified investors. Yeah, I'm probably not a qualified investor. I'm not as rich as people might think I am. I just saw the other day, maybe it was a while ago, Golly from Hyperchange only owned like 60 shares of Tesla. That's pre-split. That works out to 300. He probably bought more since then. I just got here. Did you discuss Monday Tesla yet? I don't discuss short-term share prices. That's not my thing. I like talking about long-term stuff. I can't. The market will fluctuate. The price will go up. The price will go down. I can't tell you which way it's going to go on a given day. I think it's going to go up, but it's like like I thought Trump was going to win the election. I thought Hillary was going to win the previous election. I'm terrible at short-term predictions. Alzheimer's said to be diabetes type 3. They say a lot of things about Alzheimer's and diabetes. I think a lot of people don't know a lot about it. Neuralink has the potential to help a lot of people. One of the use cases I've looked at is in remedying blindness and deafness through functioning implants linked to sensory prosthesis. Yes, Neuralink is going to be amazing. It's going to help the blind see. It's going to help the deaf hear better. Most deaf people can hear already, but they'll improve hearing for the deaf. It'll massively improve sight for the blind. It will help paralyzed people walk. It will solve all kinds of brain diseases. It's amazing. I thought an accredited investor had to have $2 million. I don't know. I don't know what the threshold is. I don't have, right now I will say I do not have $2 million in liquid assets for myself. And the appropriate liquid assets for myself. I thought the number was 2 million, but regardless, I'm not worried about it. I'm happy with Tesla. I think SpaceX is probably a good investment, but I haven't done the numbers on what is SpaceX value at. What's the growth model? What's the revenue model? What's the profit model for SpaceX? I'm not sure I know it. Harder to see that one. I guess you see the auto parts industry going to zero. Yeah, I think the auto parts industry is in trouble. I don't think I put that in my video, but I think the auto parts industry is in trouble. I mean, there's a period of 20 or 30 years where internal combustion engine vehicles will linger, and people will probably try to preserve them. So there's some market for it, but there won't be a lot of new internal combustion engine vehicles, and EVs will survive a lot longer. So, windshield wipers, but, they're not going to be mufflers anymore. Let's see. I didn't say soldiers like being crammed into spaces. I said that wrong. I think soldiers do get crammed into spaces whether they like it or not. You only need to earn $200,000 a year, and that includes investment income, net worth of $2.3 million to be an accredited investor. I'm probably not quite there yet. I'm probably not quite at those numbers yet. Getting there. Any news on AMD chips going to Tesla cars? I haven't seen AMD chips going to Tesla cars. I thought Tesla was making their own chips. Maybe Tesla was making their chips with Samsung. I thought they were sticking with Samsung. I swear I saw something. Maybe it was AMD chips for the entertainment, which is a relatively minor thing. Net worth excluding main residence, $1 million US. I'm probably not there either. Depends on, if you go with my family portfolio, then maybe I could do that. 9% of his shares to buy his Tesla. Yeah, I'm not selling. Well, I don't know what Golly's other money is. Maybe he just didn't have any other money. I have other money. Gigapresses are going to expand from industry. It's interesting to see where else gigapresses could go and be used. That's a really good question. Neuralink is not going public for a long time, if ever. Let's see. Do you own a Tesla? If so, which model? People always ask me this. I do not own a Tesla yet. I have a reservation on a Cybertruck. I bought a Volkswagen Passat right around the time that the Model 3 was just my lease was up on my previous vehicle, an Acura MDX. I needed a vehicle, and I could not get a Model 3, and they were only selling the really expensive ones, so I got a Volkswagen Passat really cheap, $18,000, $6,000 off MSRP. It gets phenomenal gas mileage. It's the last ICE car I will own. It's pretty good. I like it, but I feel driving an internal combustion engine car is like every time I drive my car now, I start to feel like I'm an idiot. Every time I go to a gas station, I feel like an idiot. Every time I get an oil change, I feel like an idiot. When I hear the engine running sometimes, I feel like, why am I driving this thing? Have you considered shorting any ICE-related companies? I do not do shorts. I am a long-term investor. I do not do call options, put options, leaps, whatever. I just buy stocks and hold them. I'm a buy and hold investor. I have had Google for a long time, Facebook for a long time. I had Southwest Airlines for a line, sold it because I don't believe in the airline industry anymore. McDonald's, Coca-Cola. Those are all small holdings compared to my Tesla holding. Amazon. I've had Amazon since 2013. Do you think ICE owners of the future will have to pay a pollution tax to own and operate his grandpa's muscle car? Yeah, I think you're going to have to pay people to take your ICE car away. You won't even be able to sell your ICE car. What if the right to repair forces Tesla to provide parts and manuals? Then they'll provide parts and manuals. I don't think that's a big deal. That's one other reason, by the way, Jack, that's another reason for Tesla to stop selling cars and just keep them and run robo-taxis. Who do you think is the best Tesla YouTuber? My favorite Tesla YouTuber is The Limiting Factor, and my favorite related YouTuber is Boring Revolution, who covers Boring Company. Limiting Factor is great on batteries and technology. I like a lot of them. I like Rob Moorer. I like Hyperchange. I think Steve and Mark Ryan and Solving the Money Problem is fun. Is this the zombie Tesla channel? Sure. The zombie apocalypse is coming. Yeah, I have a 2018 Passat Mac. I don't short either. I don't want to hate on companies. I just don't. The transactions costs. I'm a big believer in lowering transactions costs. So index funds lower transactions costs. Buying and holding stocks lower transactions costs. If you buy and sell options and you play on that stuff, you're spending it takes more time and you spend more money making the trades. And if you think you're getting your trades for free, you're missing out that they're secretly getting money from you in the trading process that you didn't realize. When will you sell any of those other large cap positions? I haven't really thought about selling other stuff. Right now, I don't need to sell anything, so I just buy and hold and don't worry about it. If the time comes I have to sell something, I'll think about it then. It won't be Tesla. You know, I think I still have stock in Spirit Airlines. I was thinking of selling that just because I think the airline industry is a goner. Jordan Giese gave Limiting Factor. Sandy Monroe is great. He's not really a Tesla channel. He covers Tesla, but he's not really a Tesla channel. What do you think about the government splitting Facebook? I don't think about it. I think about the government splitting Tesla. I think Tesla needs to start buying politicians. I think Tesla needs to start hiring former congressmen, former members of Congress, pay them $1 million a year, and their only job is to take current congressmen out to lunch and tell them how great it is working for Tesla. So that every congressman knows if he's good to Tesla, whenever he loses an election, he's got a job at $1 million a year taking people out to lunch. No talk about policy. No, you don't have to lobby them on any particular issue. You just let them know how great it is working for Tesla. That's a small cost. You buy 100 congressmen, $1 million a year. It's $100 million a year, and they just take other congressmen out to lunch. They take former congressmen take current. That's my brilliant strategy, my brilliant political strategy. Never mention a policy issue. You don't have to talk about any policy issues. Chinaman? What's the Chinaman? Oh, Dave Lee's great. I love Dave Lee. I think he's mad at me, but he's a great guy. Zombie Tester channel is one that doesn't go live anymore or rarely posts. I did not know that. I'm not going zombie. I love doing this. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm making some money. Buy the shirts. Support this channel on Patreon. I'm not making a lot of money. I'm making a lot more money on Tesla stock, but it's fun and I make a decent amount of money. This is now my career, and I love it. It's a lot more fun than being a lawyer. I just got hired on a drunk driving case too, so I'm still making some money as a lawyer. How long would it take for a Tesla solar roof to pay off the difference in cost between Tesla's solar roof and a normal roof? So that's a great question, Charles. So we have a house. It depends on the roof. So in my neighborhood, you have to buy an expensive roof. We have a homeowners association that requires you to buy a more expensive roof. We can't do asphalt shingles in my neighborhood. So replacing my roof would cost in the ballpark of $30,000. Ballpark. One of my neighbors, if you catch it at the right time, it might be $28,000. If you catch it at the wrong time, it might be $40,000. But it's a ballpark of $30,000 to do the roof on my house. I have a 3,200 square foot, two floor house. with they're concrete tiles or something like that. We have flat tiles. Some people have barrel tiles. So I am hoping to put a Tesla solar roof on my house in the next year or two. We have a roof claim pending from a hurricane. Long story. I'm expecting that putting the solar roof on my house with a few power walls will cost $40,000. So it will be about a $10,000 premium to put a solar roof on this house. This is a guess. And I think the solar roof price is going to come down because Elon said something at the, I think it was the Q3 call. Elon said solar roof's going to surprise a lot of people this in 2021. So I am planning on putting solar roof on. I expect it to cost $10,000 more. I expect it to save me $300 a month, which is about $3,600 a year. So I expect it to be about 3 years to pay it back. Plus, I live in Florida, which has hurricanes, and having a few power walls and a solar roof means that when the power goes out, we'll be fine. ICE already has the politicians. Yes, that's why Tesla needs to buy some. Let's see. Keep away from the Chinese spies. I don't know why people bash China all the time. The greatest, I've said this many times. People watch my channel a lot. Have heard me say this. The greatest enemy of the American people has always been Washington, D.C. And people in Washington, D.C. like to point the finger at Russia, China, Japan, whoever, as the enemy when the enemy is Washington, D.C. Let's see. Do you think Starlink will be provided on Tesla cars? No. I think the Starlink antenna would not be very aerodynamic. I think it might make sense on an RV in some situations. I mean, they have used them on planes, but Elon said that cars generally don't need the bandwidth, that 5G will be plenty of bandwidth for a car. I think if you had the Tesla Cybervan and you were using it as an RV, then it might make sense to have Starlink on that. I think it's like $100 a month. Just ordered a solar roof. Yeah. Do you think Starlink will be provided on Tesla cars? You just asked that. No, I don't think it'll be provided on Tesla cars. Maybe on Cybertruck, maybe on Cybervan, but probably not. It's not very aerodynamic, No, I'm not going to need to sell any shares to do my roof. We got enough money. I'm not poor. Just so anybody knows, I'm not rich. I live at a $600,000 house. I don't live at a $5 million house. I drive a 2-year-old Volkswagen Passat. And my wife has a 6-year-old Mazda SUV. We don't drive in Mercedes or BMWs or Tesla Model S's, but we're not poor. And we don't spend money we don't have to spend. We're at least somewhat careful with our money. I don't think we need government help. I think we need government to get out of the way. Do you think Tesla doing EV boat in the future? Yes, I think Tesla might do something with boats. Actually, it's a video I'm working on. I'm stewing on making a video about cargo shipping with battery electric, with using batteries. It's hard because T-Man Cham, the largest container ship in the world has a 15 million liter diesel tank. The batteries to compete with that would probably require 100 million liters. So it's a challenge to make the batteries fit. That's interesting. And I don't know if you could redesign the ship and could you make structural battery pack where the batteries are the hull? I don't know. Maybe you could make the batteries into the hull. I don't know how that would work. If you could make the batteries the hull, that would do it. Looked up solar roof service by zip code. It's currently not available to me. I don't know. What's your thoughts on regenerative energy resources to be tapped into? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Jared. I think solar is the big one. Wind is a big one. Maybe geothermal. What do I think of NIO, Chinese EV competitor? I have a video on my channel. If you search my channel for NIO, you will see my video on it. I think it might be okay, but I think it's overpriced as a stock, and I don't think it's going to be that big of a competitor. Can you add dancing German girls to the live stream? I don't think my wife would like that. I could get my kids in here to dance, but I don't think that would be as exciting for you. And I don't think my wife would like that either. No, seriously, structural battery hull. Is that possible? Structural battery hull. Come on, we can make it work. Do I think Tesla would acquire Uber or Lyft? This is a great question. I think it's possible that Tesla would acquire. Lyft would be cheaper. I think there might be some intellectual property, some knowledge about rider behavior that would make sense. There might be some other knowledge that they would have. I don't have an opinion about Xpeng. I don't know about... I think it might make sense to buy Lyft. It might be cheaper to just hire some employees from Lyft. And look, Uber and Lyft are going to go bankrupt when Robo-Taxi comes out. So, maybe they can pick up one of them cheap. Maybe there's some valuable intellectual property there somewhere. I don't know enough about them to know what that would be. Do I think Cybertruck will be used as a Robo-Taxi? Absolutely 100% yes. I intend to send my Cybertruck out to make me money after I get it. Structural battery pack. When batteries die, you need to buy a new car. Yeah, 10 years later, when you needed to buy a new car anyway. Can Tesla survive without tax credit? Tesla is already surviving without tax credit. Tesla will be fine. Could the space above the containers be a solar panel? I think solar panels might work. I actually saw this idea for sails on a ship that would be made of that would have solar panels embedded in them. Hard sails, not fluffy sails. Let's see. Wait, what was that question up there? Hang on a second. Carl Stockmall, isn't it better to finance any purchase and keep your Tesla even if you're a little bullish? I had to learn to carry some as I make much more money on my money elsewhere and interest rates are nicely low. I have enough Tesla that I don't need to sell any to buy. I'm not sure which purchase you were talking about financing. Financing the roof is going to come from other money. Buying my Cybertruck is going to come from other money, so I'm not worried about any of that. If I needed to buy a Cybertruck and couldn't afford it otherwise, I would finance it rather than sell Tesla stock for it. Thoughts on NIO hiring this highly seated deep learning expert? I don't know anything about that. Why do taxpayers need to subsidize Tesla? I don't think taxpayers subsidize Tesla. Just do the videos at the beach. I should go back to doing videos on the beach. Are you selling in 2030? I'm 65 in 2031. I don't know. I guess I'll look at things in 2030 and figure out what I'm doing. I may sell a little. Maybe they'll already be churning out dividends and I'll live off dividends. I don't know. What should the time horizon for a younger investor be? That's a hard question. I do have a video with advice for young investors. But I think that depends on the individual. When do you think Tesla will announce the $25,000 compact model? They already did. They already announced it at Battery Day. What will it be? What will the details be? I think that'll come out in 2021. Maybe 2022? I'll need to special order a Cybertruck with a trailer hitch when I ride hail to get to construction sites. So here's the theory, Carl. I think Cybertrucks will come with a trailer hitch or it'll be cheap. I don't think you have to special order. I think that's going to be normal for Cybertruck to have a trailer hitch. Maybe a $100 option or something, but that'll be normal. One of the things that people talk about with Cybertruck with, I need a pickup truck so I can take my tools to work and back. Well, what if you bought a trailer and you hook the trailer up to the Cybertruck Robo-Taxi or other Robo-Taxi? That Robo-Taxi hauls your trailer to your job site. You unhook the trailer, the Robo-Taxi drives off, and you have your trailer ready to do whatever work you need to do, and your trailer has batteries in it to power your tools. Solve that problem. What about the business model that hoarding a large Tesla fleet and providing Robo-Taxi in the future? That's my business. That's the business model I think works best for Tesla. I don't think it's hoarding. Taxpayers subsidize the oil industry a lot more than they subsidize EVs. Exactly. Did Kevin Snyder, Elon Musk announce a 2021 production target? They announced that they were hoping to achieve 20 gigawatt hours? No, 100 gigawatt hours of batteries in 2022, I think. I thought that was the number. And then you could translate 100 gigawatt hours of batteries to how many vehicles do you make, and it's a lot. That's a lot of vehicles. Let's see. There's a concept video on YouTube relating to Tesla yachts that's pretty incredible. Hey, Shock City Rocker, if you could please comment on the video and provide a link to that YouTube video, I would love to see that. Oh, here it is. Quote called Oceanbird. The concept is for a new class of vessel they're calling a pure car and truck carrier with a... Yeah, so I think that's interesting. Well, we'll see that. Do I think the autonomous semi will be ahead of Robo-Taxi or after? I think it's the same time. I don't know. That's a tough question, Lei Zhao. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Lei Zhao? How much should a portfolio be worth to retire for an average person living in the West? That's a great question, Yingjun. So I have a video where I talk about this. What I would say is whatever your portfolio size is, figure that when you retire, you're going to spend 5% of it a year. So if your portfolio is $1 million, that means you have $50,000 a year to spend. Then you got to figure out, well, how much money am I going to need and what other funds do I have coming in? So an American is going to have Social Security. I'm probably going to have I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 a month from Social Security. I'm just guessing. Maybe it's $2,000. My mom gets about $2,000 a month from Social Security. So how much do I need added? Do I already own my house? Am I still paying a mortgage? What are my expenses otherwise? And then figure out what you've got. I think my estimate is you want to draw 5% a year. You want to plan on drawing 5% a year. That way, if your investments grow 5% a year, your investment portfolio stays the same and you've got an endless supply of funds, which will matter if you have Neuralink and you're going to live forever. What happens when someone throws up or smokes in your Cybertruck Robo-Taxi? Well, then they're not going to be allowed to ride in Robo-Taxis again. I mean, if you smoked or threw up in an Uber or Lyft, you would get a bad rating from the driver and no driver would pick you up anymore, right? Same thing. There's going to be incentives not to wreck the Robo-Taxi you're riding in. If you believe that that's not doable, then tell me how Uber and Lyft manage to work. I have like a 4.9 or 5-star rating from Uber and Lyft because I treat them right. And I generally give 5 stars to the drivers because they generally treat me right. Somebody who doesn't treat people right, they're going to get bad ratings and the system's not going to work for them. Are there many Tesla car dealers in your area? There is a Tesla store in the Boca Raton Mall called Town Center Mall. There is a Tesla store in West Palm Beach. They're not dealers, they're just stores. Thank you, Kevin. I enjoy doing the live stream and Q&A. Would you recommend moving $6,000 worth of my existing Tesla position into my Roth IRA? I am not a professional advisor and I am not capable of doing that. I don't even know enough to answer that question. CM, Warren, will you wear sexy shorts? I wear cargo shorts. I am wearing cargo shorts now. I always wear cargo shorts. I like having pockets to carry stuff. And I do not think I would look sexy in sexy shorts. I am overweight. I'm 54 years old. You don't want to see that. You might want to see it to laugh at me, but you don't want to see it. Technically, I retired at 45. I'm just not very good at it. What happens when your child throws up or smokes in your car? Great question, Carl. Same shit, different day. Uber charges something like $400 to clean a car if somebody pukes in it. Yeah, you get charged a cleaning fee. You sing the song, they throw up in your Cybertruck, hit the road, Jack, don't come back no more, no more. Yeah. Why do taxpayers need to bail out GM? Yeah. That's why I tell my kids only gummies are allowed in the car. Oh my God. I don't make predictions, short-term stock price predictions. I can't believe I have to keep saying that. Only 4 cars in inventory in Australia. Interesting. Have you ever driven a Tesla car? John Yen asks, Warren, have you ever driven a Tesla car? My neighbor Brian, who lives across the lake over there, my neighbor Brian had a Tesla Model 3 Performance, and he let me drive it, and it had full self-driving, so I drove full self-driving. This was probably a year ago when full self-driving was not that great, but it was still really cool. And he recently got a Model Y. He traded in the Performance for a Model Y, and he let me drive that, and that was fantastic, and I like them. I don't actually find the driving experience that special. Not bad. I just, I like it. I think it's better than driving a normal car. I don't think that's the point. I think the point is that it's convenient, it's less expensive, there's all kinds of advantages. I'm getting a Cybertruck at the end of this year, at the end of 2021. I expect that Cybertruck will be produced in sufficient volume. I ordered Cybertruck in the first hour of it was available. Brian, my neighbor Brian, also ordered a Cybertruck. I expect to have a Cybertruck by the end of 2021, maybe early 2022. My wife's not happy about it. Tough. There's a large area above the containers on a container ship for solar panels. I think there's a way you could do solar panels on a container ship. I'm not sure how much that will matter. I don't know how. I think the idea of sails makes more sense. Fixed sails that could be, not fixed, but sails that could be moved to take advantage of wind as well as solar. I don't know. I think that there's a potential for solar panels on container ships, but I don't know the economics of that. And I don't know, wind, seas can be rough. I don't know what damage they do to solar panels, winds and all that. Let's see. If you entered a contest to guess the best price of Tesla in 10 years, what's your best guess? The price of a Tesla stock in 10 years? I'm going to say $20,000 share price is my guess. I think it's going to be higher than that, but would you sell your Tesla stock if Elon was not the CEO anymore? Great question. I'm going to turn that question around, Mihai. Do I think that Elon Elon's disappearance or death is the greatest risk to Tesla's success. It is a big risk to the future of Tesla's growth overall. But I think that the Tesla team is at the point where Tesla will continue to grow and dominate even if Elon was gone. I also think that Elon is an alien from the culture depicted in the Culture series Moraine. He is an alien down on Earth to help us advance so we can get out of here before the Vogons destroy the planet. And he has a drone. If anybody's watched, I think it's called State of the Art. He has a invisible drone that protects him if anyone tries to kill him. So don't try to kill Elon. It won't work out for you. What's the cost for electricity for a month with a Tesla car? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know about by month. I think it depends on where you are, too. You know, how much does it cost per kilowatt hour where you are and which Tesla do you have? Oh, no, Jim, the minute I saw Cybertruck, I knew I wanted it. I mean, bulletproof. I'm a apocalypse, zombie apocalypse guy. When I heard bulletproof and I saw how, I think the thing looks spectacular. I picture putting it in my driveway with the cameras on for Sentry Mode as my new security system for my house. I mean, I saw so many things in that Cybertruck from the very beginning. I am stoked. Is Tesla secure enough to continue the mission if Elon died? That's what I answered. I think the Tesla team is already there. I think it will grow faster and achieve more with Elon at the helm, but I think Tesla is already, and SpaceX both are already there. They have great leadership. They have great teams. They will survive and do well without Elon if they had to, but they won't have to because he has a invisible alien drone protecting him. Let's see. Do I think Tesla stock is too risky at my advanced age? I do not give professional investment advice. I encourage you to talk to a professional investment advisor. I'm not competent to give that kind of advice, but I'm 54 and I have a lot of Tesla stock, so. Do I think biotech could be the next hot sector? I don't think that much about what the next hot sector is. I think Neuralink is going to be hot, and I think that's biotech. What is your strategy for adding more to your Tesla position? Add as you have. My strategy has been that when I had available cash, I would buy more. But now that I'm at 80% in my retirement fund, I think if the price drops low enough and I don't see fundamental reasons for the drop, then I might buy more. That's what happened. It dropped below 400 a month or two ago, and I bought some more. Maybe it was 3 months ago. There was a big drop under 400. I bought some at like 343 and some at 388. But really, I just feel like I have enough, and I'm not worried about it. I can't, if it dropped again, yeah, I would think about buying more. But I just feel like I have enough. I'm riding it out. If Tesla goes where I think it's going, I'll be fine. I don't have like this, I don't need to have $1 billion, If I have 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, I'll be good. Really, you could get to $2 million saved up and you're only going to spend 5% of it a year. That's $100,000 a year. You're doing pretty good. So if it goes where I think it's going, I'm going to have a lot more than 2 million. I haven't bought a share in a few months. Let's see. How much do I think FSD monthly rental would be? I think it's going to be, if FSD costs $10,000, and you're going to own it for 10 years, that's $1,000 a year. It has to be more than $100 a month for the rental, for the subscription. I think it's $150, $200 a month. I don't know. I think that's a real challenge, is how does it make sense to do it as a subscription? I'm not sure what the market is for that. And we just talked about simple fundamentals, just cars, battery tech, and solar panels and HVAC. The fundamentals based on Robo-Taxi should be left out until it's really there. So Lib3N, I have a video. First of all, the video I just did, I talked about 2 different models. One Robo-Taxi and one just producing vehicles and other, just basically going off batteries and products. So it's not just about Robo-Taxis. The Robo-Taxi model, if you go all in, takes you to a $100,000 share price. But the just building stuff and producing things, I didn't even get into HVAC. Just building the products they're building gets you to a $40,000 share price if all goes perfectly in 2030. I don't know the 60s TV show Thunderbirds. I am near retirement also. It's hard to argue it's bad when I made 10x this year and my broker is still working. Who was the better investor? Good question. Is your retirement fund? My retirement fund is a regular IRA. I started it a long time ago. It made sense at the time. I'm not sure it makes sense now, but I think I don't plan on, so I don't really worry about that Roth IRA. For one thing, they're going to tax Roth IRAs. You really think they're not going to tax Roth IRAs? They're going to find a way to get your money. They'll find a way to get you. You think you got out of it, they'll find a way to tax you. Somebody had mentioned ARK. I did buy ARK in two of my accounts. My account and my family account. Will Tesla's shares split every year? I don't worry about splits. Spliffs. They're going to spliff. It's going to be a 420 to 1 spliff. Why hasn't Amazon split? Don't know. Don't care. I buy and hold Amazon. I got a lot of shares. What is it, like $3,000 a share now? They haven't split because I see, for me, splits are necessary transactions costs. I don't see, if it's important to have retail investors buying stock, I guess it makes sense, but Amazon doesn't need retail investors, and there's an extra transaction cost to doing it. If they tax Roth IRAs, I'll find the loophole they invent for the rich and themselves. Exactly. That's it. People need to hear more about the fundamentals without the Robo-Taxi. Robo-Taxi should only discussed it. I think Robo-Taxi is it. I think Robo-Taxi's coming fast. I don't think we need to hide from it. Biden wealth tax will get us all in taxes. Biden wealth tax, Kamala wealth tax. Well, they'll find a way to get us. Were you this financially savvy when you were in your 30s? That's a great question. I don't know if I still feel like I'm financially savvy. I just so people know, I majored in mathematical economic analysis in college at Rice University, which is arguably an elite university. I went to Stanford Business School's PhD program for 3 years. Left without getting a PhD, but I took advanced class, PhD level classes in finance, accounting, etc. So I understood the capital asset pricing model, the arbitrage pricing theorem, all when I was in my 20s. And I'm 54 now. I understand what the concept of a diversified portfolio is. I don't think I had the sense of investing in unicorn stocks until Amazon, really, until I bought Amazon in 2013. So I think there's different. I don't think anybody's completely savvy, and I think I feel more savvy now. But I still think there's a lot I don't know, and I've never gone into options or short-term trading and stuff. I don't feel savvy about that. Have I seen video of the new grid-served charging station area in the UK? We need those in the US. No, I have not seen that. Jeff Bezos is a great person. People pick on Bezos. I like to make, it's fun to make fun of him, call him suborbital, but Amazon is a spectacular company that has made my life better, and I made a ton of money on their stock. Not nearly as much as I made on Tesla, but I made a ton of money on their stock. Is Tesla teaming with Bose? I don't know about that. Elon, the world's first trillionaire? I think so. Okay. Here in Sweden, I have an investment account. Okay, so we've got this. Wow, this is like 2.5 hours. Please talk about the subprime crash coming in car finance and already being declared junk with 50% of car finance having missed payments. So Cormac, I don't know about a subprime crash coming in car finance. I think it's a gut feel rather than knowledge. I think that there is a potential debt bubble coming, both a government debt bubble and a personal debt bubble. I think it's possible there's going to be some kind of crash in the future. That's why I'm a prepper, apocalypse, zombie prepper, whatever. I do think there's a real risk that something bad is going to happen. And so in addition to investing in Tesla stock and other stocks and bonds or whatever, I believe in holding other assets, hard assets, gold, not in accounts, but like physical gold and silver coins. I'm big believer in food, water, and ammo. I have a lot. I have friends who have a lot more ammo than I have, but I have, like 4,000 rounds of ammo. Would I still invest in ARK when Kathy Wood rumor is she getting the boot? I don't think Kathy Wood's getting the boot. I think ARK, I don't have a big investment in ARK, so I don't really worry about that. I just bought some of it because I like some of the stuff that they're talking about. And, I guess it depends on the crash. If the crash is really bad, then markets collapse and we might never be able to touch our Tesla stock and everything blows up, and then you want ammo and food and water and gold and silver to trade. Hard assets are a good thing to have as a part of your portfolio. Canned food, whatever. I have freezers. I just cooked a chili and I put a bunch of chili in the freezer. Have you ever talked to ARK Investment? I would love to interview somebody from ARK. I'm not sure I'm the right person for that, though. There's other people that do that. Showcase a weapon? I think that would get me in trouble with YouTube. I'm carrying a pistol right now, but here's what I'll do. This probably won't get me in trouble. This is a magazine for a Glock 26. This is an extend. It's a 2-round extender, which gives you something to hold your pinky on. So there we go. Magazine porn. Not porn magazine. It's porn. It's magazine porn. But I don't think it's appropriate to show the weapon on YouTube. YouTube might give me trouble for that. So. No, Kathy, I don't think Kathy Wood's getting the boot. I don't know, but if she does, she does. I don't invest a lot of time in worrying about what's happening with Kathy Wood. I think she's great. I love watching her talk. I read her emails and pay attention to their newsletter and watch some of their videos. I think they're brilliant. No, I know YouTube has I watch a lot of gun videos on YouTube. I just don't know if it would be good on this channel. Eddie, I'm packing all the time everywhere. I live in Florida. I have a concealed carry license. I carry at home. I wake up and I strap it on, and when I go to bed, I take it off. And it's really close. I carry all the time. Glock 26, 1 10-round mag and 2 12-round mags in my pocket. And one in the chamber. I don't do Israeli carry. And I have a laser on it. So I don't feel like I'm a very good shot with a pistol, by the way. Much better. Rifles are much easier to shoot accurately. Any interest in getting a Roadster or Plaid? No, I'm not. I think when I was younger, I was into sports cars. Now I want the car. I want the car to drive me, and I don't have to worry about it. And I want it to be a nice, smooth ride. I like them. I think they're cool, but I'm not craving driving it. My kids act up around me all the time. I'm a responsible gun owner. Who's your favorite YouTuber for Tesla content? Second time that was asked today. Limiting Factor, Boring Revolution. Those are my 2 favorites. Bikini girls carrying guns. It's hard to put the gun somewhere. I'm not sure where they would carry that in a bikini. In Little Havana, you have to carry... Look, anything can happen anywhere. The thing about carrying a pistol, I know we're off topic here, but the thing about carrying a pistol is you're only going to need your gun when you're not carrying it. It's Murphy's Law. You're only going to need an umbrella when it's only going to rain when you're not carrying an umbrella. You're only going to find yourself in a conflict situation when you're not carrying a gun. So I always carry a gun. Not in a school, not in a police station, not where it's prohibited under Florida law, but everywhere else. Why would you carry a gun? I carry a gun because there are dangerous situations and people get in dangerous situations. I want to be able to protect myself and my family and my friends and the people around me. That's why I carry a gun. Why do police carry guns? Same reason. Protect themselves, protect the people around them. Do you believe there's enough power density to support Tesla's growth in the upcoming years, given that many of the... I think solar is scaling up so fast that there will be plenty of power. I don't think that's a concern. I think solar and wind are scaling up fast and they will provide enough electricity. And most of the demand will be at night. Most of the vehicle charging will be at night when other electricity use is down. So the power stations that are needed, the power production is needed, the facilities, we won't need as many facilities as you might think. What do you think about Elon's late night tweets last night? I didn't get them all. I read them. I didn't really understand everything he tweeted. Did he tweet something about Dogecoin? I'm still wondering if he's Satoshi Nakamoto. I love that theory. Yeah, no. 70-year-old never... You never owned a gun or needed one that you knew of. Hey, listen, I've never had to draw. I hope I never have to draw. I touched a gun once in a moment where I was concerned. Somebody pulled into my driveway at random at night, and I didn't pull it out. I got behind cover. I had my hand on the gun, ready to draw if I needed to draw, and the person rolled down the window and they were in the wrong driveway and they were going next door. No big deal. I am a somewhat high-profile figure. I run something called West Spoken News, and some people don't like the news that we publish. Some people don't like the news that we publish. I have been a political figure in the past. I ran for governor of New York as the Libertarian candidate. I am openly outspoken on Twitter and Facebook, and some people get mad at me. So when you carry the gun, you feel powerful, so the bad guys are more likely to leave you alone. It's partly psychological. I think I project that anyway, but yeah. I mean, I think it's also making situational awareness. You have to constantly be looking around. You don't just carry a gun and not train with it. You don't just carry a gun and not think about how you're going to handle it. If you're just carrying a gun and stick it in your pocket and you never take it out and it gets lint in it and you never train and you never practice, then maybe you shouldn't carry a gun. But if you're careful and you're thoughtful and you train and you practice, then and you're observant, and you know, like another thing that people don't realize is when you carry a gun, you need to avoid conflict. You don't inject yourself into situations that involve conflict, because if you put yourself in a situation where there's conflict and then you draw the gun, you may have created liability for yourself, or criminal liability for yourself, when you wouldn't have if you avoided conflict. So I avoid conflict more now that I carry. What single thing excites you most about Tesla over the next 10 years? Robo-Taxi, Robo-Taxi, Robo-Taxi. If I have $10,000, which stock will you invest? Tesla. Doge is pronounced doggy? Is that true? I don't know that. Doggy coin? Bulletproof only to 9mm. I think 45 caliber too. I think it's handgun rounds, but it's not bulletproof to AR-15s and AK-47s and hunting rifles and so on. But that's at dead on. That's at 90-degree angle. If it's at an angle like that, I think it still might be bulletproof. UK police don't need to carry guns. Are Americans that much more? Hey, I don't mind if American police stop carrying guns. I don't think most police want to stop carrying guns. We have a more violent society. I'm sorry, there's reasons why cops carry guns. How do I feel about direct democracy? I am a closet anarchist. I am a person who believes that that my utopia is an anarchic utopia that we will never achieve, and the answer is just smaller and smaller government. Direct democracy, maybe, but I think the key is government needs limited power. I think Elon's kidding about Dogecoin. Or is it Dogecoin? Is it Doggy Coin? I never looked up how to pronounce it. Jerry Masulik. Jerry Masulik is a great. If you look in the chat, there's a guy named Jerry Masulik, Miculek. He has some great videos about guns. He is like an amazing shooter. He has a video about his EDC gun. I'll have to look at that. I think the EDC, the everyday carry gun for Jerry Masulik, is probably different than the gun for me. He's a much better shooter than I am. He's a better shooter than almost anyone. Can Tesla make money from other manufacturers by the supercharger network? I think it's possible. I don't think it's a big money thing, but it's possible. Only 9mm per battery day. Could they make batteries in 9mm casings? There you go. Take more rounds over caliber. I believe that 9mm is the lowest sufficient caliber, all 380 maybe, and that's why I chose 9mm. And 9mm FBI testing 9mm was more accurate than higher caliber, than 40 caliber or 45 caliber. People shoot them more accurately because the recoil is less and they're less afraid of the gun. And that's FBI agents. Can you find bullets in Florida these days? It's very hard to find ammo. Very hard to find ammo anywhere. I have enough of everything, but I needed a 6.5 and I did get some. Hard. Thank you, Act Up. Thank you for watching. Your favorite muscle car? I used to have a Camaro. I like Mustangs and Camaros in the past, but now I just want a cushy ride. I'm old. And you serve refreshments now. I've been going a long time. I think I need to stop, but the conversation's still fun, so we'll keep going. To launch Robo-Taxi, Tesla needs to build superchargers massively and in cities. No, I don't think they need to build them massively. I think that as Robo-Taxis scale up, they will scale up charging stations. Will Tesla make an off-the-grid RV type vehicle? I think I think Tesla will make a van off this. I think Tesla will make a minibuster van that will also serve as an RV. Will have an RV configuration. It's in my video, my Cybervan video. If you're English, then you are the reason Americans initially needed guns. I love it. I love it. Yes. Doggy coin is just the more fun way to pronounce it if you like pups. Okay. What's your day job? Right now, this is my day job, but I am also a lawyer. I'm a mostly retired lawyer. I'm also a web developer. I have a website that generates revenue for me. It's called towncourt.com. It's a directory of traffic courts. I am a personal injury lawyer. As far as I remember, I have one personal injury case pending in Palm Beach County. I am a criminal defense lawyer. I have 2 felonies pending in Broward County, and I have 1 misdemeanor drunk driving case pending in the Florida Keys. And I handle a bunch of traffic cases in New York State. Low volume, all of it low volume. What else do I do? I drive my kids around. I'm a journalist. We run West Boca News. My wife takes care of that now. I don't really do West Boca News hardly at all anymore. Is the Cybertruck automatic or manual? It's 1 speed. I'm pretty sure it's automatic. I don't think there's going to be a stick shift in any Tesla vehicle. When robo-taxis are in place, do you think there's still a place for public transportation like buses and subways? I believe that we will see a Tesla minibus or van that will carry 20 to 30 passengers depending on the situation. In the third world, it'll carry 30 or 40 passengers. In America, it'll carry 20 passengers. It will be extremely low cost per passenger mile, and it'll be amazing, especially for long distance, but maybe also urban. You should install a Gatling. I want to see a deck gun on the Cybertruck. Yeah, I think that could be possible. Yeah, that could be the reason to get the ATF, what do you call it? The NFA registry. Register a Gatling gun and put it on your Cybertruck. Yeah. 4,000 rounds in your house. The fire department will let it. My ammo is safely stored in airtight containers. Have you ever been 3 years old? Yes, I was 3 years old. About 51 years ago. Did you ever have a motorbike? I rode on the back of motorbikes a couple times. Never liked it. Terrifies me. I rode a lot of bicycles. How many shares of Tesla do you own? 50 to 5,000. Standard answer. Between 50 and 5,000. We should, a lot more than 50 and a lot less than 5,000. How about that? We should recycle ICE cars to make... I don't know the answer to that. Thank you, John. Thank you. I appreciate being hired. I hope you never need me. I'm a personal injury lawyer and criminal defense lawyer. People always say we'd love to hire you. I hope you never need me. You would have to get injured or arrested. How do you live with the hurricanes and the humidity? Humidity does not bother me at all. I think it's actually good for my skin. Makes me feel better. Hurricanes, if you live in Florida, you get used to it. It's not a big deal. And getting the solar roof and if I get Tesla solar roof and Powerwall, it's going to make it even easier. Went to Loggers Run Middle School back in the old days. Loggers Run Middle School is the school my kids went to, and it is about 2 miles from my house. Thanks, Mike. Cool. Let's see. Maybe Elon can make cyber... I have a video about Cybertank. Alan, if you search on my channel, I have a video about Tesla making Cybertanks. What are guns designed to do? Guns are designed to deliver a projectile at relatively high velocity to a target. You're allowed 10,000 rounds. I'm not there yet. You realize that? You realize you're the biggest Tesla bull by far? I think there's a few others that are big bulls like me. How much do you think a 7-year-old Cybertruck will be worth? It'll be worth the same as a 1-year-old Cybertruck. A Tesla bus could daisy chain for more people like Cybertrucks. Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't know if daisy chain is the right word. I spend $32 a month for transit total. Maybe $20 for the wife and kids. Yeah, it's not going to work for everybody, but it's going to work for most people. Yes, I agree. Just like the semis. I think that will happen. I think a lot of countries, public transportation is subsidized by the state, and it'll make it harder for Robo-Taxi to compete. But I think the Cyberbus will do it. Just call Chris. Who's Chris? Better call Saul? How do you think your life will be impacted with robo-taxis? I think I will no longer... I will own a Cybertruck and run it as a robo-taxi and make money off it. I will no longer bother to own a car for personal use. I will ride in robo-taxis. It will be more convenient. I will never have to shop for insurance. I will never have to shop to buying or selling a car. I will never have to change a muffler. I will never have to get an oil change. I will never have to go to a gas station. It's going to be amazingly... Drop me off at the front door and pick me up at the front door. I'll never have to find my car in a parking lot. I am so excited about the future of robo-taxis. What do I think is Elon's plan with its war chest of cash in the future? I hope they're going to invest in R&D and developing factories to grow faster. The target is either a paper target or the animal you're hunting or the human who's trying to kill you. Let's see. Guns are designed to kill. Well, I guess knives are designed to kill. Cars are designed to kill. I have guns and they've never killed anyone, so they're not doing their design well. Why do police have guns if they're designed to kill? You think police's job is to kill people? I love this. Heavy Pizza, send me, if you want to have a gun debate, send me an email and we will set up a gun debate and we will do a special gun debate on the channel. You will not win. I've had this conversation so many times. Elon mentioning sexy cat girl robots, that would be fun. Friend just sold it. Yeah, I think there are sex robots in Japan. It's like a big industry now. Friend just sold his Model 3 and got 95%. Resale value is going to be insane because once they're if you have a full self-driving, vehicle, the resale value, it's going to be worth more than you paid for it, by far. Is Zoox a serious competitor? I have not seen enough about Zoox to believe that they are a meaningful competitor at all. I haven't seen a Zoox on the road yet. What is your guess Tesla stock's price in a year? A year is I don't like making short-term predictions. It's too hard to figure out when will investors figure out that Tesla is for real. If by the end of if Tesla sells 1 million cars by the end of 2021 and Robo-Taxi is running, then Tesla share price is going to be over $2,000 a share, maybe $3,000 or $4,000. If they deliver on what they need to deliver, what they could conceivably deliver by the end of 2021, then the share price could go through the roof. But it may not, things aren't always perfect. Things get in the way. I don't think Galley is that much of a mega bull. I love him. I love that guy. He's fun to watch. He had a great video on QuantumScape. Limiting Factor and Hyperchange both did great videos on QuantumScape. They really ripped him to shreds in 2 different ways. I loved watching that. Both great videos. Will Biden create a climate that will further promote Tesla value? I don't think Biden or Trump will have a big impact on Tesla one way or the other. If anything, I think Biden's more of a threat. Not Biden himself, but the Democratic Party hates billionaires. What were the cause of Tesla's cars burning up? Fire. I don't know what you're talking about, Tesla's cars burning up. Gas cars burn up a lot more than battery cars. The gun debate is easy. Guns are illegal and owning one is a capital offense. I don't know where you live, Nicholas, but I'm glad I don't live there. Tesla laid there for 2 years before this one going sideways, and this year it went nuts. It could go sideways. Let's see. I own 500 Tesla stocks. Do Tesla have 1 million or 2 million battery now? I think you mean a 1 million mile battery. So I think the answer to that question is that the made in China Model 3 with lithium iron phosphate batteries, the cycle life on lithium iron phosphate is much higher than nickel-based chemistries. So I believe it has a close to 300-mile range, and it has like 10,000 cycle life. So I think that car is a 2 or 3 million mile battery. I think that the 4680 cells that they're working on now are 1 million mile batteries because they're going to deliver range and they will have substantial cycle life. I think that the current cells that Panasonic is producing now in the Nevada Gigafactory are probably 500,000 mile batteries. They might be 1 million mile batteries. It's hard to say. I don't know if they've gotten to 4,000 cycles yet. If you get to 4,000 cycles on a 250 mile range, you've got it. And it may be that the batteries being produced in Giga Nevada today are 4,000 cycle batteries. I don't know the answer for sure, though. I saw that billionaire's kid drove into a Verizon store and the car caught fire. I don't know what you're talking about, John. I have stashed AK-47 with grenade launcher. Okay, I don't have a grenade launcher. I'm not sure. I don't know how practical grenade launchers are. I don't know where you get the grenades. I always wondered about that. That was in the assault weapons ban. They banned grenade launchers. I was like, can you get grenades? I've never seen grenades in a store. Where do you get grenades? I thought grenades were required ATF tax stamp. You know, the... What do you call it? I thought they had to be registered with the NFA. Does Elon have anyone that can run Tesla if he can't? Drew Baglino, yes, the Tesla team can run Tesla. They won't be as good, but they're good. How does the cycle charge work? You mean charge it from 0 to 100%? Great question, CM. So, in theory, you have a battery, a lithium ion battery. You charge it up to 100%, you run it down to 0, and then you charge it back to 100%, and up to charging it to 100% and going down to 0 is a cycle. With nickel-based chemistries so far, going up to 100%, going down to 0% actually hurts the long-term battery life. So you want to keep them in a range of 20 to 80%. With lithium iron phosphate batteries, this does not seem to be a problem, and you can run them all the way down to 0 and all the way up to 100, and they will have a longer cycle life, and that charging, discharging, and fast charging does not seem to hurt cycle life on lithium iron phosphate batteries. Yeah, iron battery's got to be at least 2 million miles. I think I've heard 15,000 cycles on the iron 5. That might be a 5 million mile battery. Rexy the Hound, why do you guys need guns? Same reason police need guns, Rexy. Same reason. By the way, it's the right to keep and bear arms. It's not the right. It's not the Bill of Needs. It's the Bill of Rights. I wouldn't say I need a gun. I think it's appropriate for a responsible adult to have guns. You think it's inappropriate, then don't have them. I'm not shooting you. If you try to kill me, I'm going to shoot you. So far, nobody's tried to kill me yet, so I haven't had to use it. Well, other people doesn't have. John Macri says because other people with bad intentions have guns. It doesn't have to be guns. Somebody could have a knife. If I get attacked with somebody with a knife, if somebody's bigger and stronger than me and they attack me, if I get attacked by a 4-year-old, I don't need a gun for that. But if somebody with outweighs me, is young and fit and strong, and they come at me, you got to make a judgment. Is my life in danger? If your life's in danger, you got to use the gun. Do most of your friends have a positive view towards Tesla? I think I have influenced a lot of people to have a positive view toward, and I post a lot on my Facebook page. My personal friends are mostly on Facebook and not on Twitter, and not watching me on YouTube. I think I've influenced a lot of friends to have a positive view of Tesla. Have you ever toured a Tesla facility other than a store? No. Police have to go to danger when called. They encounter it possibly daily. Why do you need a gun? Well, police carry guns when they're off duty. Think about that. You never know, Rexy, you never know when you're going to encounter danger. And the only thing you can say for sure, if you believe in Murphy's Law, is you will encounter danger when you're not carrying a gun. I even want to own a deactivated AK-47 or AK... What's an AK-103? Parts of the USA... Look, everywhere is dangerous. You can never know. I live in a gated community, and there's a gated community near me, and there was a home invasion. We have home invasions in Florida. People will break into your house and hold people at knife point or gunpoint, and it has happened in my community. Not in my subdivision. I live in Boca Falls, but it happened in a neighborhood called the Oaks, which is a neighborhood of $1 million homes, and somebody climbed the wall and broke into somebody's house and held the family at gunpoint or knife point or whatever. I want to be able to defend my family. That stuff actually happens. I'm sorry that you think it doesn't happen. It actually happens, and I want to be prepared to defend my family. And if you don't want to be prepared to defend your family, that's your choice. I'm going to be prepared to defend my family, and I'm going to be better trained than the guy breaking in the house, and I'm going to be more accurate, and I'm going to take him out. And if I get shot, I know that if you get shot with a handgun, you have a very strong chance of survival. And I know if you get shot with a rifle, you have a very poor chance of survival. So hopefully if they break in the house, I'll have the rifle handy. Because I'm more accurate with a rifle. We carry guns because carrying police would be too heavy. I love it. And I'm also more accurate than most police officers because they don't train that much. People have no idea how poor... Some cops are very good. I don't want to come down on cops. Some cops are very, very good. But there's a lot of stories about how poorly many police are trained in handguns and firearms. I think with Sarasota Police Department, there was an expose that most of the cops didn't train. And New York City police, they hit their target 19% of the time. No, Block is not good against a grizzly. That would just make him mad. He might die a couple days later after he killed me. No gun. People bring somebody. I don't know. You're right. I shouldn't be talking about guns. Tesla laser gun. Would love to see it. My rifle's good for grizzly bears. Both my rifles are good for grizzly bears. How many times have you been on site to watch SpaceX boosters land? I watched the third Falcon Heavy launch, and then the other launch that I saw in person close was the in-flight abort test. And then I saw a launch. I don't remember which launch it was. I was in Jupiter, Florida. I was about 100 miles away, and I saw a launch from that far away, and I was able to see the re-entry burn. I was not able to see the landing burn or the landing. Let's see. American society, everybody need guns because it's so unsafe. I lived in Japan, CM. So I honestly, I felt very safe in Japan. I agree that Japan is so safe that you do not need a gun in Japan. And probably there's some other countries that are similar. There's so little crime in Japan. It is such a safe place to live. It's a paradise, really, in so many ways. It's a wonderful place for so many reasons. I could see it. The only challenge is this, that the real reason to have a gun is why we have the Second Amendment, which is when the government turns on us. And if you think it's never going to happen, that's a nice fantasy. With so many people armed, do you worry that a minor dispute argument could quickly escalate to a shootout? Great question. In Florida, there are roughly 10% of the population is licensed to carry a concealed weapon. That's 2 million people. South Florida is probably less. There are parts of Florida where half the population is carrying a gun. And it doesn't happen. So no, I'm not worried about that. Always pack a high caliber gun when hiking in the woods. Yeah, maybe. We can see that. Yeah, I did. I just saw a launch. I think we saw the. I just saw the not the cargo mission, the crew mission 1. We just saw the crew mission 1 from our backyard. We saw the booster go up. We saw main engine cut off. We saw second stage startup, and then second stage startup was very faint to see, and it vanished from our view. We also just saw, there was a Delta 4 launch that we were able to see, and my neighbor was, not the neighbor, my other neighbor was out with his kids watching, and we saw it, and it was really cool to watch that launch because it was 4 solid boosters? That was amazing. Kyoto was a wonderful city, shock city rocker. Kyoto. By the way, off topic here for a second. Japan is a wonderful place to visit. I lived there for a year. I've traveled there 2 other times. I'm hoping to go back soon. I love Japan. Wonderful place to visit. Food is great. You have to be careful with food because you might not realize you're eating intestines if you're not careful. But absolutely wonderful place. Kyoto is a spectacular city. Absolutely love Japan. If you have a chance to travel to Japan, go. You talked about this week's volatility. I don't worry about volatility. There's always volatility. I just don't care. Government has already turned on us. Fair point. Fair point. I mean, turned on us worse. Should I move to Texas or Florida? I love both states. I'm in Florida. I think Texas is great. What's your view on Toyota CEO's talk about EVs? I didn't hear his talk. I think that Toyota's probably full of crap when they talk about EVs, but we'll see. Guns don't work in a revolution. A resolution for Constitution works. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how... If society collapses, I don't know how it's going to collapse. I just want to be ready. If one day Tesla has any competitors, which one do you think this will be? I don't think it'll be an existing car company. I think it could be Comma.ai could succeed in Robo-Taxi. Maybe Mobileye will succeed in Robo-Taxi. I'm not sure. Neo, Xpeng, some Chinese company may be successful building cars. We'll see. Texas has better Mexican food. California has great... California, New York... Florida has terrible Chinese food. The Thai food's pretty good. There's some good Indian places. Very clean in Japan. Japan is a spectacular country. It's wonderful. Well, earthquakes and tsunamis... We have tsunamis, hurricanes here, and earthquakes in California. I did experience a bad earthquake from a long distance in Japan, and I lived through the Kobe earthquake from a distance and the San Francisco earthquake close up. Why do you think Japanese are not into EVs as much as Volkswagen as Germans? I don't know the answer to that question. I think both countries are all auto companies are very bureaucratic, and maybe Japanese companies are more so. Hey, Boring Revolution. Will Blue Origin still be around in 5 years' time? Great question. I think the answer is yes. I think Blue Origin is the most likely second competitor to SpaceX. I think that Blue Origin is closer than... I mean, Electron is doing pretty well, and I forget, whatever the company just flew a rocket. Electron is making good progress, but I think Blue Origin is very well funded. I think in the long run, if I was Jeff Bezos, I would say screw it and just throw in with SpaceX. But, you know... They built a good engine, the BE4 engine. We'll see if Blue Origin's able to get there. I mean, as long as Jeff Bezos has the money and wants to play with it, he might as well do it. How much of Tesla batteries recyclable? I think the whole thing. Thank you, Mac. You need real-world data making FSD. Tesla is light years ahead. I agree with that completely. Hi, can you please... Thank you, Mel. Warren, what's the blue light? I created some lighting in the background to make the background more interesting for my videos. It's just I think it's the brand is Philips, and there's a remote to change the color. There's an orange light behind me that's a similar light. And then in the far background in the closet, if you can see it, there's a red glowing globe. How good do you think LiDAR can get its potential? I think LiDAR is a crutch, like Elon says. I don't think LiDAR is going anywhere. I don't think Blue Origin needs seed funding. I think Bezos will just keep funding Blue Origin indefinitely. I think he has a vision for where he thinks they're going to go that's going to be different than SpaceX. And I think if I was Bezos, I would recognize, wow, I can stop spending money on rockets and just use Starship and build my own Neil colony using Starship and just pay Elon. And Elon would probably say, sure, let's do it together. I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know if they're friends or how they get along. I think there's real potential for that. Virgin Galactic a few years ago tried to recruit me as a salesman for space tourism. I don't know enough about Virgin Galactic. I think Kathy Wood likes Virgin Galactic. I haven't paid much attention to it because if I'm going to invest in space, I'm going to invest in SpaceX. Do I think SN9 will land perfectly? Yes. I think SN9... Well, one of the questions with SN9 is, are they going to do the same 12.5 kilometer launch, or are they going to go higher and faster? I think that's a question. I think they might go higher on the SN9 launch. Do you think Tesla could make and stay long in South Asia, India? In my video, I talk about where Tesla might build factories, and Indonesia, I think, is a very likely place for Tesla factories. Well, LiDAR has a place on Falcon. It doesn't have a place on cars. And nobody knows. And Elon knows about LiDAR. If he thought it was useful in cars, he would have it. I don't know much about Mayor Pete. I doubt they hate each other. That seems unlikely. I mean, I think they tease each other. Elon teases Bezos, but I bet Elon still orders stuff from Amazon, and I wonder if Bezos drives a Tesla. What vehicle does Bezos ride in? Or if he doesn't ride in a Tesla, he must hate Elon. That would be the only reason, because Tesla's the best cars. Let's see. Chamath is great. Where will Tesla be after 2030? What other will they make? I think what's going to happen is Tesla's going to become so successful that Elon's going to be able to walk away, and he's going to focus on SpaceX and Neuralink. That Boring Company and Tesla will be so successful, he'll be able to walk away, he'll have a pile of cash, or he'll take his dividends, and he's going to invest further in SpaceX and Neuralink. Neuralink is stunning for the future. Neuralink is going to change the world. Neuralink is going to change humanity, and SpaceX is going to spread humanity to the stars. I guess, what would be next for him? Well, warp drive, obviously. If Tiger Woods' kid can golf, maybe one of Elon's kids can be Zephram Cochrane. I don't know. What new markets will be created with robo-taxis? I did an interview with Omar Kazi, who is behind Whole Mars blog, and he talked about all kinds of things that could happen with robo-taxis. It's really interesting. You trust the autopilot on Teslas? I trust it to the extent that I would ride in a car on autopilot, but you're supposed to watch it and make sure it doesn't crash into anything. You got to pay attention. I think that by the end of 2021, I would trust Tesla autopilot more than I trust my teenage kids driving. Do we have enough minerals on Earth for a near 100% EV auto on land? Yes. There's a lot of minerals on Earth. And will it be recycled with a good ratio? Yes, it will be nearly completely recyclable. Did anyone get there? I did not get a Tesla tequila bottle. I think that I kind of like was it somebody called a Dyson Swarm? It's not a Dyson Sphere, it's a Dyson Swarm. I think something like Ringworld could be kind of cool. Maybe I'd be interesting to see what's going to happen in the future. Future's amazing. Let's get excited about it. All right, 3 hours. This is the longest, by far the longest live stream I've ever done. I want to thank everyone for watching. Please support this channel on Patreon below. Please check out the shirts. This is the best-selling shirt on my store, The Machine That Builds the Machine. I love this shirt. It's my favorite shirt. A lot of other shirts. Buy a shirt. Wow, that was a long one. Get excited. Tomorrow is the anniversary. Tomorrow is the anniversary of... Watch it one more time. Oh my God, let's watch it one more time. Here it is. Here comes Falcon 9. This was 5 years ago tomorrow. Falcon 9. Orbital rocket booster in command. Sorry about the volume. Are you buying your kids Teslas when they're rich? I'm buying them Robo-Taxi rides. Sorry about the volume there. Thank you, everyone. Back to this. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Get excited. I got a video tomorrow talking about the 5th anniversary of the Falcon 9 landing. Sorry about that. I got it tomorrow morning. I'm going to go pop. I'm almost finished editing the video. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to publish a video celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Falcon 9 landing. Absolutely spectacular moment, changing the world, changing space, changing everything. One of the greatest moments in human history as far as I'm concerned. So please support the channel on Patreon. Certainly, if you want to give support the channel on YouTube or join the YouTube channel, buy the shirts. Buy the shirts. Starship, buy the shirts. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.